Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 771st edition of A Day Has Gone By, Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream. Did I break the record on that? I mean, I can do it a lot longer, but it would be even more annoying. And I know I'm holding this upside down.
It flashed your name and went black in it.
Yeah, because when I went back to the Zoom screen, I accidentally hit stop video.
Oh,
Yeah, it went to my name, which I really should change. Can I change it while I'm physically doing it? Let's see, where do I do?
Go to participants.
Go to participants. I'm a participant.
And
I'm
more,
participant in part other things. More.
Rename.
Oh, I'm going to be Dave's
Why don't you just do DQ? Oh, yeah.
Gone By.
There.
Let's see. Oh, am I renamed? Let's see. This is going to be exciting. Yes!
Okay.
That was a thrill, wasn't it, folks? Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the 771st edition of this program, which mixes humor and talk and interviews and culture and all sorts of craziness. And we do it every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts. And we have been doing it for 18 years, since October of 2002, when we went on the air on a Long Island radio station, which at that point was out in Limerick, then moved to Babylon, and then I moved away, and all sorts of things happened over the past 18 years, as they tend to do. But we're still here, still doing Dave's Gone By, now as a video cast for all you folks, but still essentially doing the same thing, except it's never the same thing every week, which is what keeps it interesting. It was, what were we watching last night? It was the David Letterman show on Netflix. The, what's he, I keep confusing it with Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Yeah, Letterman talks to people. I think that's the actual name of the show. And we saw one from 2 years ago where he talked to the great Howard Stern. And they were saying that, you know, if it's been this many years and you're doing the exact same thing, it isn't going to work anymore, or it's not going to work for you anymore because it's going to get stale. And this has not gotten remotely stale for me, because if I were to go back 10 or 15 years ago, which I can, we have the archives, and everybody, you all can see the archives at davesgoneby.com. But if I go there, a lot of aspects of the show will be the same, but we were doing very, very different stuff also. All those years ago, we were playing much more music. We were having segues. There was the news gone by back then, which I just don't have time to do anymore, where we were doing satirical stuff about the news. And we had, and some things go and come back, like we did the Wretched Pun of Destiny for a few years, ran dry in that well, and now we've been bringing them back. And we actually have a new Wretched Pun of Destiny this week, where we will be talking about, go figure, the elections. Oh, I hear myself talking about the elections already. That'll be one of our Wretched Pun this week. So some things morph and change and come back and go. We started, I guess it's probably been close to a year, doing our Today Yesterday quiz of trivia questions, right, about a certain day of the week, just for fun. I would just read questions on the air and give you guys the chance to type back the answers or just think of the answers to yourselves. And then was talking it over with my critic friend, Leslie Hoban Blake, and I thought, you know, it might be fun to make this more like a quiz show with actual contestants and stuff. And over just the past couple of months, it has morphed into one of the more important parts of this program, because it was almost the afterthought when I started it. And now we get guests to do it, and it becomes like a quiz game, and you play against the guests. It's a lot of fun. And that's how things just keep evolving and morphing and changing and staying fresh, which is the most important thing. This is a fresh, brand new, live Dave's Gone By right here on this, October. It is not. It's our first
November show.
First November 2020 show.
Cold November rain. I'm going to write down the people till I go, okay?
Oh, and by the way, did you hear we have a new president? Just kidding. We don't know.
Can you read this writing?
Oh my God, why are you writing in orange? Hold on, let me give you one. Oh, we took all the pens. Joyce is going to take down, now, when I say Joyce, I'm talking about, of course, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who is on the sidelines helping She doesn't want to be on camera. She doesn't want to risk her career by appearing physically on this program, but you can hear her, and she is helping with all the behind the scenes stuff. She does the watch parties, and she takes down the names, and she posts a whole bunch of things on our Facebook feed and during the week as well, and started us doing these stories, which I'm thinking is going to get us some more viewers as well. Stories on Facebook, where it's not just a regular posting. I don't know why it's different. I don't know why it works like this, but if you post a picture and then a quick mini Instagraphic thing, it goes up into a whole different area of people's Facebook pages and feeds. And they're sometimes more likely to see that than they are to just see if I post and say, hey, we have a new show this Saturday, please watch. So we're doing everything we can. And Joyce is instrumental in helping with that and troubleshooting the tech. I had to change my password again this morning. Just all these things that get in the way of what we have to do and what we want to do. That was really brought home to me this week when we started doing something, and I'm like, I don't really want to do it, and maybe we should, but it's a really good idea, something I really ought to do for myself. And Joyce wanted to do it for herself too. And so we bought condoms and we tried it. It didn't work, but we tried something else. There's a writer named Helen Sword. She lives in New Zealand. I think she was from Indiana, but Helen Sword, and she writes books, and she's written academic books, but also books about writing academically for the more general public, for grad students and undergrad students. And
no, it's really for academics.
It is all of her stuff.
It's geared toward, I think, faculty, and I guess students too, but I think more faculty,
Really, yeah, geared toward faculty writing. People who are going for associate or assistant professorships or tenure, or people who want to get published or articles done. And it's mostly very, very common sense advice that writers who aren't academics kind of take for granted. Cut your sentences down, streamline your thought, make things clear. Don't use a lot of jargon. Don't overload your sentences and paragraphs with extraneous verbiage, and say what you have to say clearly. And you can still get a very complex thought through, even through clarity, especially through clarity. I mean, that's all good stuff, right? And so she wrote a book about it. And one of the things that she does is basically for free. I mean, I'm sure she does services where she helps writers and tutors them and makes a ton of money doing that. But one way that she brings people to her is a lot of the free stuff that she puts on YouTube and puts on her website. And she has this writing challenge, these 30-day writing challenge things that she does. And I'm usually allergic to these things. I'm usually like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to put, I mean, if I'm in an academic situation where I have to do this and I'll get credit for it, or I'm in a deadline to get paid for something, sure. But if it's just like, do this, set this aside, do this, and I'm like, I want to, but then I get lazy or I get tired or my schedule gets in the way, or just I get in the way of it. I don't want to deal, I'll write when I write. If I feel like writing an hour and a half today and then not for another week, that's what will, and then I get nothing done. Or I let other things distract me, because distraction is the enemy of creativity. That should just be on like every wall of every building every writer is in. So you get distracted. You can't just do the one thing that you might leave behind on this planet, because you don't get distracted from eating lunch. I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat lunch. You don't get distracted from sitting in an office at a keyboard and having to do what the boss tells you to do. You want sometimes to be distracted from that. You long for, the phone call to take you away, unless it's in a project that you got to concentrate on. And then the phone call's a horrible distraction, right? And you don't get distracted from all those things, but it's so tremendously easy to get distracted over the very rewarding but incredibly hard work of writing and being creative in that way. So, Joyce is like, let's want to try this? I really like her. I respect her. We both read her book about stylish academic writing. And Joyce can really go at that because she is an academic writer. She has written books and tons of articles. We even co-wrote an academic paper. What, sorry? She's written 4.
No, wait,
Well, you co-wrote a book.
3. This is after my 5th one. I die. That's what the psychic told me.
Joyce went to a psychic at one point who said that Joyce will write 5 books before she dies, and Joyce is already sort of up to number 4. So you know, I'm already getting the list of hot women that I'll call, like, you know, after Shiva's over.
You
like,
did want to increase the life insurance, which made me nervous.
yeah, exactly. I need to bump this up. Yeah. But so she said, I really respect this woman. I like her. She's got a great visual and verbal presence. Sorry?
Oh, philosophy of writing.
Yeah. And so do you want to do this? And the one thing that kept me semi-honest for a couple of years when I was living out in Colorado is that I belonged to a writer's group, which
and they supported you. They saw your shows.
Oh, yeah.
They drove to Boulder. One woman was afraid to drive at night on, like, Boulder has no lights at all, like in some of the canyons.
Yeah.
And she drove alone and stayed for the after party just to celebrate.
She did. Yeah. I mean, and it was, I mean, these were a wonderful group of people. A few came, a few went, but all of them were a terrific bunch.
Some were guests on your show.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. Don Pearl, we had on the show. Lisa Arata has been on the program. I don't know if I won't mention them if they're not in the Daverhood, but we would meet once a month at our local library, which should tell you something, that we weren't meeting once a week. I mean, we were a group of people who weren't really professional. I had been a professional writer, but not a novelist. And so it was kind of, at some point, it almost became more social, like we liked seeing each other. And, you know, do we have to now start reading our stuff? Do we have a deadline next? Oh, man, which is what happens.
Somebody went up. Every week somebody went up, right?
Because we were forced to.
Yeah.
I mean, people would dig back into, like, drawers of stuff they wrote 10 years ago and say, let me look at this, like, 90 minutes before our meeting and see if this is salvageable. And a lot of times it was, because many of us were very good writers. And it did force us. There's a couple of, you know, Lisa wrote a very nice novel that should be published.
Do you want something?
I've got beverages here. Shan, my friend Shan, she is a marvelous short story writer. And we're just begging her, what the hell are you waiting for? Send these out, get these, you know, even if you do it yourself now that everybody can self-publish in a pretty reasonable, easy way. Just get your stuff published. These are so good and you have enough for a book. Do it. And you always hope that these kinds of writers groups will also do that, where it won't just be, I have a deadline, I've got to read.
The musician join us, 10?
Yes. I've got a book. You know, we all have to read. We all have to finish something. We all have to be ready to present and then get gently edited and proofread by our colleagues. We also hope that it would be more that we will spur each other on, and someone would know someone at a literary magazine or journal, and somebody else would know a book publisher, and someone else would have these great ideas. And that didn't so much pan out. But every once in a while, they would also come in and say, oh boy, you know, it's NaNoWriMo time, whatever the hell that is. Or there's this fellowship is going on, or this is happening where it's a challenge. And can you write a book in the month of February? I was like, no, I cannot. If I were on a mountaintop, you know, and I had a cabin with some indoor plumbing, I could probably write a book in February. Other than that, there's no way in the universe that I could, considering my life, right? So these would come and go, and then there'd be the spark of interest, and a couple of the others would actually try and do it. And, you know, the typical writer thing, they would get to page 50 or page 60, and then, yeah, because you start something, and you get about a quarter or a third of the way through it, and then just everything, and you've got to go back and then figure out what you're doing and where you're going. This is the only reason I think people like Charles Dickens and maybe Tolstoy did the books that they did, was because they had these deadlines recurring. They were writing for serial publications and oatmeal publications too. Then they would write, yes, that's hilarious. And they were forced. They couldn't just go back and edit and go over and over and over. They had to move forward. There was something pushing them forward on the same project week after week, month after month, which is why, in Charles Dickens' books, sometimes you get a character who is one name on page 40 and then shows up on page 360 with a different name. It's the same. It's just, he couldn't go back. He had deadlines on 3 different books he was writing. So he says, I'm going to keep going, right? And the books turn out classic anyway. But it's true, this would happen. And so, and it's why some of the Russian writers, they start and they go gangbusters, and then 1,000 pages later, it's still great, but you're kind of slogging through. It's like, well, what happened to the storyline is there's, read a lot about peace and a lot about war, and now where the hell are we? But Joyce said, well, why don't we try this? It's a thing where you write 25 minutes per day.
You listen to a blurb first.
Yeah, Helen Sword greets you with like a 2-minute welcoming speech. She'll do a little bit by read a little poetry, from Wordsworth or Tennyson or whoever, and welcome, give you a kind of a feel throughout, which I barely even pay attention to because I'm working on something very specific. Oh, wow. And so she said, write joyfully. Well, this is not a particularly joyful moment, or, write mindfully. It's like, no, I'm praying today. I'm in this. It's hilarious.
I do what she says. We just didn't write outside because we write at night.
Yeah. And one of them is go outside and write. I'm like, no, it's 45 degrees out and dark.
It's nighttime.
But the idea of setting aside, no matter how busy your day is, no matter how happy or pissed off you are, or how many errands you got, or what you got to do tomorrow, or what you did, or anything in your head, is kind of like just, you watch this little quick video, and then the best part, she holds up a timer, right? She has all these different videos of her with a timer, and she makes a little joke or tells a little poem, sets the timer, which is sometimes like a little blue macaroon or a little owl timer, or
a ladybird.
My favorite tomato. All right, potato. We know.
We thought that we didn't like ladybird.
Ladybird, yeah. She has what we in America call ladybugs. Apparently, in other countries they call them ladybirds. Who knew this? Although when she showed her ladybird, I took my Johnson out. So, and she has these timers, and she'll set the timer, and you hear tick, 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 tick. I'm thinking, is that going to go on for 25 minutes? But no, she lowers the volume slowly, and then you have not 30, not 45, not 10, but a 25-minute writing block where you are just going to sit there with whatever you're working on or something completely off your head or brand new and write.
Yes.
And just do it. Just go and be free and don't over it. Now, Joyce is working on a book, right? She is working on a real academic, not novel, a real academic
It's not
piece.
A novel. It's an academic book for a UK press, so they're smarter. People in the UK, I think, are smarter than the US, so it has to be smart.
I mean, I'm sure the UK people are very smart, and I am Anglophilic, but I think Americans are just as smart as anybody. Well, not 70 million Americans at the moment, but here's the deal. Thank you.
Funny.
How do you know I wasn't talking about the Biden voters, dear?
I did, because you wore your blue hat. I did your blue hat.
That's true. That's true. But so
fancy. I do your fancy.
So much as I usually eschew and object to not object to, but I just don't follow these kinds of things. I've been doing it with Joyce, and we both sit on opposite sides of the room, and for 25 minutes, it's just quiet, and we sit there tippy typing.
Yeah.
And it has made such a difference in my week. I just when I get through it, I feel like, now maybe it's because I'm not blocked on this particular project. And this is a project that I started many, many months ago, when I thought I would be doing in my lunch hours when I was working at one place. And now I can't even, do that at the new place I'm working because I just don't have the mental energy or the time. So I'm like, I'm blocking out just this nice little sitcom length window to finish this thing that has been on my plate for months and months. And I'm so close now. And I was probably about 2/3 of the way through half a year ago. And now I don't want to jinx it, right? But I am quite close to, at the very least, first draft, which is enormous. I haven't put my name to anything finished in a year and a half or more, honestly, and it's killing me. I have no soul left with all the other stuff I have in my life, right? But this, for 25 minutes a day, I get this. I mean, how do you feel about the writing project so far?
I really like it. I really like it. For me, I always want to write, but I'm not, because of other stuff, I feel a little trapped in some ways, so I don't feel as free. I think what she's done is I'm being at a conference and hearing people speak in beautiful language. It's opened up my mind. It's connected to the vortex. It just forces you to do it.
It does, yeah. That forced to in a positive and a good way. And she says at the end, look, you want to go on and write for another 25 minutes, reset the timer, have a stretch? Go ahead. But at least today you've accomplished, set out what you took your 25 minutes and you did what you did. And of course, if you're a budding novelist, you're writing your memoirs, and if you do like half an hour a day after, that does accumulate. You will, like, over a couple of months, you'll write a book. You really will. No, I won't. I'm working on a play, but you could.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So, and I'm also a terrible, it's not something that I'm even a procrastinator. I just don't have much time in my life, but I'm also a go back overer. I don't like editing per se or rewriting. That is so arduous. But at the same time, there is something in me that's like, let me go back. And I spend half my writing time sometimes just going back to page one and getting it back all in my head and fixing little things.
Go forward a little bit. You can always
edit. Yeah. But sometimes you get that, or, I don't want to write something new. Yeah, that's too much work. Let me just go back to what I've written and make little changes, which I do all the time. I go back and try and make little changes on things I've written 25 years ago sometimes. That's what I do. And by the way, if you're interested in writing, what?
Oh, I gotta get more people.
Oh, great. In reading what I've written, by the way, if you go to davelefkowitz.org, like my name, davelefkowitz.org, I've been archiving. This is one of the reasons I got back into it. All this stuff that I've written since I was in my teens. So hundreds of theater reviews that were published in all different places, like Backstage and Theater Week and TotalTheater.com. I mean, just all these reviews for all those years I've been a theater critic. And then some journalism stuff that I've done, and the interviews I used to do for Long Island Woman, and my plays and some screenplay. I mean, if you want to go read and really crack open this head that you listen, excuse me, that you listen to every Saturday morning, and you want to hear, or you want to read the things that are more, I don't want to say filtered, but more polished. Because this is just like, hey, Dave, open the brain and let all the monkeys out. Let them just fly out of your skull and go climbing everywhere. Which actually does bring me back to the beginnings of this program, because if you recall, or if you go back and listen, the first many, many episodes of Dave's Gone By were almost completely scripted. I tried to make them sound extemporaneous, but I would come to the radio station with a 30-page script for an hour show. I really would. And I would read, I have timings, and I time things all week and to get it down to within 5 seconds. And because I've been told all my life that I'm a better writer than I am a performer, than a person, and it's true. I'm, without being too vain, I'm a very good writer of a certain way. Maybe not a great academic writer by any stretch, or maybe not a great novelist or poet.
You're a great writer. When you did the stuff about Broadway and things, it was the best.
Yeah, I'm very good and clear.
You're deep. You're literary. You're deep. You're good.
I'm not that. I wish I were. If I were deep, I have a PhD. But
you could easily get a PhD.
I could get a PhD.
And I think if you wrote a PhD, it would add to your field, but you don't want to.
Oh, I don't think I add to. I don't think anybody adds to any field anymore.
I think so. I think you just want to pursue other things, but I think you're a really good academic.
Well, thank you. I think I'm a very good arts and entertainment journalism writer. I think I'm extremely good at that. And I'm very, very good at comedy, and have written comedy plays and sketches and things like that. So the initial idea of the show was to have a really scripted comic program of different segments of me joking about the news, pre-written, even the intros, everything was scripted down. And then I started making little inroads and saying, you know what, I'll do a bullet point here and I'll just talk, until it finally morphed to the point where I was comfortable to say, okay, you know, I'm gonna, and of course the interviews weren't scripted, but it wasn't meant to be an interview show from the beginning. I had very few interviews in the first year or two because it wasn't supposed to be that. It was a talk to other people show. It was a me talk show, me, right? As Howard Stern says, it's the id flying out. And then I just got more comfortable, and it was at Joyce's instigation to say, yeah, you can talk. You know, you're pretty funny just being you and off the cuff. And she preferred it, which a lot of people don't, but she...
I think it's more natural.
It is much more natural. But of course, my thoughts aren't shaped the way they are when I write them down. I don't come to a beautiful apex.
Why should your thoughts be shaped?
Well, if you're trying to make a point, I want to be talking politics today, and it would be very nice if that were very, sculpted and scripted, so that I knew kind of what I was going to get to, as opposed to here where it's like, what a week, I don't know. I do know. I've grown so comfortable with this other way of doing the program that for 3 hours or 3.5 hours a week, I get on here with a few pages that I barely even look at, and only a couple of scripted things: the Colorado Limerick of the Damned, the Wretched Pun of Destiny, the questions for the quiz. Everything else is just boom. And I don't even think, it's like, oh, turn the mic on, turn the camera on, I'm here. And the mouth goes, and the brain is semi-connected, not completely, but they're usually working somewhat in tandem. No problem. I would sort of feel hampered if I was just sort of sitting there, like auditioning for a role in something.
One of your strongest suits is that when you interview people, everybody says you're a strong interviewer, and I think you would lose that if it was scripted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the questions, obviously, I glance at notes. I think my strong suit is the gabardine, because it holds together really well, and it's got a nice pair of pants with it. You're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce. It is Saturday, November 7th, 2020. By the way, we haven't even mentioned our special guest. So I'm going to tell you that as soon as we do our usual opening theme.
Good morning. There goes the Daverhood.
There goes my phlegm.
There was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
Yeah, David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Thank you, Joe Franklin. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am Mr. Dave, here for the 771st episode of Dave's Gone By, which we are calling Suppository. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the suppository edition of Dave's Gone By. Do you know why? Yeah, this is probably not what you're thinking. Although if you're tuning in for our special guest, you can probably guess. Joining us on the Daverhood later, like a half hour from now, will be actually a guest that was suggested by our guest 2 weeks ago, Vince Giordano, where he said, or was it last week that Vince was on? Might have been.
Yes. Remember he played against me? I think we scared him off when he played the quiz with Leslie and with David. He was a little, taking
Yeah, he was great though. Vince Giordano, a long-time jazz musician, band leader.
He played with everybody.
Wonderful, and that's why they arrested him. But no, I kid. Terrific musician. If you get the new Loudon Wainwright III album, where he's covering songs from the big band jazz era, it's Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks behind him.
His website. Tell him his website.
Well, VinceGiordano.com. I'm pretty sure. And just he's been at this for like 40 years now, where people used to see him at the Red Blazer 2 or various clubs in Manhattan. So great guy. And of course, very well connected with musicians in the jazz world. And one of the folks that he recommended that we get on the show, and I look at this guy's creds, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh absolutely, is another musician named Henry Sapoznik. Sapoznik, Sapoznik. Now, first of all, I saw that name. I'm like, okay, Rabbi Sol absolutely will interview this guy no matter what, because there's going to be this Jewish jazz and folk and other kind of musician. But even more so, Henry Sapoznik, kind of like Vince Giordano, is a musicologist. He knows a great deal and has done a lot of research and archiving of various types of music, and very specifically Jewish music and Yiddish and cantorial music. And he's written articles about it. He's collected. He's done CDs. People still do CDs and collections of his stuff. And he has also, I believe he won an award for this, even did a series for National Public Radio on the golden age of Yiddish radio. Well, I saw this. Rabbi Sol saw this. We were both failing. We were both over the moon about, we have to get this man on the show. We have to have Hank Sapoznik on Dave's Gone By. And of course, Rabbi Sol says, I will talk to you. You will not talk to him. I will talk to him. Says Rabbi, this is how he is. And I said, okay, Rabbi Sol, here's some questions I want you to ask him. Could you intersperse those? And he said no, but he usually does. He says no, and then he goes back and he slips a couple in. So yes, if you're waiting for Hank Sapoznik, he will be our very special guest in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By. So if you're interested in Yiddish music and the golden age of Yiddish radio, he also does other kinds of music. He collected early like hillbilly country bluegrass music and did a CD on that stuff. Really, I can't wait to hear Rabbi Sol talking to Hank Sapoznik a little bit later in the broadcast. And speaking of other guests, we will have returning David Sheward and the aforementioned Leslie Hoban Blake doing the yesterday quiz, possibly talking to or playing against Hank Sapoznik in the game, unless we scare him off horribly, which we'll make an excuse. It's like we literally, there was one, who was it? Was it Chuck Me or somebody else? We wanted him to play the yesterday game. And he's like, no, there are construction workers downstairs and they're going to smash a beam and the house is going to collapse. I have to go.
It was the Black 47.
Oh, yes, you're right. It was, the Black 47 guy.
Yes, I don't know.
Shame on me for not. Larry Kerwin.
Yes.
Larry, he was on. We had a fabulous time where he's talking to Rabbi Sol, and then we said, "Oh, can you stay and play the game?" He's like, "No, the construction workers. It's going to turn to rubble unless I go downstairs right now. But this is fine. Bye." So we'll see how things go with Hank Sapoznik. But what else do I want to tell you? What else do I want to share with you all about what's going to be on today's show? I don't think we're going to do Dave's big dictionary today because I want to talk politics. And I want to get to that a little later in the program because I want to leave time now to do our other segment, the segment that we essentially steal from the newspaper back where Joyce and I used to live in northern Colorado, in Greeley, Colorado. And by the way, Colorado is seeing an extraordinary upsurge in coronaviruses at the moment. So as the school tries to stay open, just send everybody home with masks and let them separate. Don't you get it, guys? It worked for a couple of weeks, but now it's the wave. Figure this out. Because so many colleges, what they're doing is, fingers crossed, they're keeping kids in school or halftime in school up till Thanksgiving. And then they're saying, don't come back after Thanksgiving. You'll do the final 2 or 3 weeks at home. You'll take the exams at home, and we'll fumigate and disinfect, and hopefully by January the wave will ease and we can have a more normal spring semester. So I don't know why that this particular university has not made that decision as they move into code orange or whatever color they're calling it over there. But in happier news, the newspaper, the Greeley Tribune, which has been around for many decades, has 2 columns in it that are amusing in extremis. One of them has to do with phone calls that come into the Weld County Police Department. So the dispatcher that takes these calls from folks who are noticing something weird going on in their neighborhood and feel they have to call the police about it. Very often they don't. So those are collected once a week in Cop Log. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the paper once a week, our friend Mike Peters goes into the newspaper from 100 years ago, back in Greeley, Colorado. It was then called the Greeley Tribune Republican. And this was before, I guess, the state turned blue. But then he goes into the papers, and what were they writing back in 1920? What little tidbits were in the paper back then, and how do they look to us from the rear view mirror 100 years ago? So we lump both of those columns into a segment that we like to call Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Tweedledee, fiddly indeed we. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on Dave's Gone By. So yeah, we just share these with you because they're so much fun. And these are all actual things. Either they appeared in the newspaper 10 decades ago, or they just happened in Greeley, Colorado a week or 2 ago. So let us get to our crimes and old times for this week. Here we are in the first week of November. Are you ready, my darling? Oh, wow, the police arrived early. They arrived even before the first call to them. A man was, rented lips. A man was walking around a porta potty, not open to the public. He then went inside after seeing someone in a car with security lights. What are security lights?
And how can a porta potty not be open to the public? Isn't that the function of a porta potty?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was on some private property, or maybe.
Oh, like a construction porta potty.
Yeah. Which are the best porta potties? Because those construction workers make them really solid. You know.
I think they make the really duties.
solid as a plop. No, I don't. Sorry, don't go there. A caller on 12th Avenue said a man knocked on the caller's door at about 3 a.m. and said something about needing a doctor before walking off towards a clinic.
I need a doctor.
Some people, when they're said they just need the attention.
Yeah, but that's good. I mean, he knew what he needed. Listen.
Yeah.
He knew what he needed and he found it. That's something that really happens on really.
I mean, he didn't ask to get driven to the clinic. He didn't ask for help or please call a doctor. He's like, "Hi,
I need a doctor.
I'm going to the doctor." Good. Well, but this goes on. This is cool. The caller,
that's it, not it.
the caller noticed what seemed to be drops of blood on the front porch.
Oh, jeepers!
No, it was blueberry juice from a food delivery.
What? Okay, let me tell you something.
Yes.
You think that blueberry juice is blood?
Well, not at 3 a.m.
You
Yeah.
have a big problem.
No, 3 a.m. It looks like. It's like in black and white movies when we were making movies and.
Blood. The consistency is so different.
Well, because no, but if you see drops of something on the ground at 3 a.m., it's like we were told when we were making movies at NYU when we first started. If you have a black and white film, use chocolate syrup because it photographs like blood. You're not going to use ketchup or red.
Raspberry juice.
Raspberry, yeah. Is there raspberry? I guess there's raspberry
I don't
juice.
know. That's so weird.
Let's do an old-timey kind of a thing, shall we? We shall.
I'm afraid, honey.
Be very afraid. A group of Platteville schoolboys well, they formed a club for trapping muskrats.
Oh, Jesus.
The boys.
Wait.
Yeah. Do you have a? The boys set the traps every day, and then after school they check the traps for muskrats. They then kill the animals and skin them for dealers that come through this area.
That's wrong on so many levels.
So far, 56 muskrats have been trapped and skinned.
God almighty.
Called it Muskrat Dance.
You don't like it. You're very morbidophilia. You don't.
Oh, I love the little Marmies. And by the way, I apologize to folks. Joyce, can you show me the list? I never even mentioned all the people who are tuning in to this episode of Dave's Gone By. Oh, yeah, she'll write more. And I'll remind you that you can email me, davesgoneby@aol.com.
But it's hard.
Oh, here we go. I just before I forget, because I always forget and I won't get a chance to do it.
Oh, wait, and also Miranda.
Welcome to Miranda. These are people who are watching the show. George and Stacy and Stephen and Adam, Scott, Charlie, Ken, Craig, David, Christine, Jake, another David, Janine, Danny, Eric, Patrick, Amos, Mike, Eric, and a lot of Erics, Bill, Sean, Michelle, Gina, and Paul. So, and there are a whole bunch of other people watching. We can't necessarily see all the folks in the feed and all the people who are tuning in, but we certainly do appreciate your eyeballs.
I literally wrote welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
As you said it. That's so funny.
Thank you so much for because that's why we do it. That's why I'm here doing Dave's Gone By and Greeley Crimes in Old Times. So, an announcement from England shows that pianist Albert Kemp set a world's record for continually pounding the ivories. Kemp played the piano for, do you want to take a stabby on this?
Jesus? Liberace.
How long was he playing the piano for?
For Liberace.
Yes.
2 years.
Continually?
Can I tell you something? It made me think. Carol Estes, who's one of the emancipatory gerontologists, she actually quoted Hamilton in her award acceptance speech. I wanted to slit my wrists.
Joyce has some sort of allergic reaction to Lin-Manuel Miranda, or as she likes to call him, Lin-Manuel Noriega. It's not based in reality. He's brilliant, possibly a genius. He is.
Oh yeah, he's a genius, but your wife's.
And he seems like the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
Generous and charitable and caring and everything you want a theater star to be. And Joyce hates. I don't get it. I maybe because he's like a better looking, more talented version of me. Quite literally. I mean,
nobody's a better, more talented version of you.
Yeah. I put away my musical about
Pooperton.
No, Rutherford B. Hayes. My music, just my epic musical, 5 parts over 3 nights over Rutherford B. Hayes.
What was it called?
Put that right aside. Is it Hey Hayes with an exclamation point? Yeah. Didn't.
That would have been a good one. He stole idea.
Yeah.
He
Anyway,
stole idea, baby.
but I don't hold it against him. Either Miranda or Hayes at all. So okay, this guy, pianist, or shall we say pianist, if it's after 11 o'clock at night, Albert Kemp set a world's record for continually pounding the ivories. How long did he play the piano for? Apparently he did this
2 days.
4 days. He started playing on Tuesday morning and ended up late on Saturday.
Oh God.
But and apparently by that time he was quite impaired. How do you stop someone impaired from playing? Take away the keys. Come on, that's good. That's good. I'm sharp today, even though I have a clef. I know these jokes are base, but yeah. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to some new crime from Greeley Crimes in Old Times. A caller.
1 second.
Now some of these calls are, of course, negligible, or they just you wonder why they've called police, or it's not an actual crime being committed, or nothing really terrible is going on. But this shocked me. This, I would call, everybody would call. A caller on 5th Street reported a man on the sidewalk was going, quote, the wrong way.
What is the world coming to?
Going the
How do you
wrong
go the wrong way on the sidewalk?
Yeah, I mean, it's not driving.
Is he in the street?
Yeah, he's a man. He's a man. Was he walking backwards?
I don't. That's the problem.
She's like, we know he wants to go to the hardware store, but he's walking towards the supermarket. Stop him.
Stop him. I don't get it.
A caller,
Why
by the
is
way.
he walking backward? What's the,
No, he wasn't walking back. He was just going in the wrong direction on foot. How does this happen?
that makes no sense.
A caller on, I mean, I joke about it, but I just realized that happens to me 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
Because if you go into the supermarket with your cart, you can go down an aisle the wrong way. They have these arrows, right? Half people don't pay attention anymore or never did. Is it so you're walking one way?
Yeah. Arrow illiterate.
You know?
I didn't want to say that, but there's a huge wave of it.
Well, all I'm saying is that if you do follow the arrow, you have a point. Hey, I may not be the best broadcaster in the world, but when I talk about arrows, I can take direction. Kill me. I do. A caller, by the way, this is on Fifth Avenue. The previous thing was about Fifth Street. This is Fifth Avenue, and not New York. This is Greeley, Colorado. A caller on Fifth Avenue said someone kept. Oh, you okay? Yeah. Someone kept turning off the light in his apartment on purpose.
Why are they calling police for this? We're in a global pandemic. If somebody turns off your light, go on Judge Judy.
So,
for real.
But this guy is like, somebody's messing with my light. Somebody's trying to, literally gaslight me.
Yes.
Police determined he was running a portable heater, a microwave, and the lighting, causing the breaker to trip.
Correct.
There we go. Breaker 19, idiot on the landscape. Here we go. Oh! Are some of you just waking up? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a chicken alert. This is very important. This is when we have a story that involves a chicken of some sort. Chicken alert. And this is from 100 years ago. Thieves broke into the home dairy restaurant early Saturday. They took no cash.
What's a home dairy restaurant?
Well, again, that's the name of the home dairy restaurant. It's probably like an earlier version of IHOP or Egg and I, right? So there's a home dairy. They're making pancakes and stuff like that. They stole. They took no cash, but they stole a dressed chicken.
A dressed chicken?
A dress. So apparently it was wearing a tie and some other accoutrements. Yeah.
Nice.
Several cans of beans, because that's going to be the most expensive thing you want to take from a restaurant, and 3 cartons of cigarettes. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but that dressed chicken, man, it should be easy to spot because most chickens are running around naked, some feathers on them.
What do they mean? What was he wearing? Like they didn't talk about the outfit at all.
Not at all. You would figure it'd be easier to spot. If you see a couple of guys, they're holding cartons of cigarettes. They have cans of beans that they're loading into the back of their Studebaker.
Wearing like a bow tie or something?
That's the thing. If you were to, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people buy beans. A lot of people smoke cigarettes. So it's not necessarily them. But if you notice that they're holding a chicken that is wearing a fine tweed suit, right? Or perhaps a bathing costume. It doesn't say how it was dressed. You would say, oh, that's probably them.
Yes.
You know what? This is very exciting here on Dave's Gone By, on Greeley Crimes and Old Times, because not only do we have this previous chicken alert, but we also have a Lupton alert.
Lupton. Alert.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Fort Lupton alert. This is just, really doesn't mean anything except we found this story about Fort Lupton, Colorado, which is probably like 5 or 10 miles from Greeley.
God.
A Fort Lupton cow leads the state in milk and butter fat production. So they put him in the factory, and he's just out there doing
Good
it.
for him.
Popeye the cow.
Popeye, that's a boy's name.
Is this possible?
What?
Popeye the cow produced
Popeye's a boy's name.
1,650 pounds of milk and 72.6 pounds of butter fat in the past month. Do cows make that much stuff? Is that even?
I don't think that's true, David. How could that be?
How do you, in 30 days, how do you make 1,600 pounds of milk? How much milk do you? Were you ever off?
First of all, David, his name is Popeye.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
like that already.
Maybe
that says,
the-
like, that's not milk.
You feed a cow spinach,
No.
it's gonna like the udder swells,
I don't
like
even
the
think
muscles.
that's true. Popeye was probably no. That's
I'm
not true.
I'm Popeye the milky cow.
Meow, meow.
I'm Popeye the milky cow.
Meow,
I'm my udders are silky because I give much milky. I'm Popeye the. I don't even stop. I'm stopping. I promise. Let's do another crime before we get to some of the rest of the show, which will include our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, our Wretched Pun of Destiny. We will also be going off on this past week in the world in politics and our today yesterday quiz. What?
There's nothing happening.
No, really not. No, there isn't. We're supposed to have a president. The one thing that was supposed to happen this week did not happen. Oh man. Oh man. Well, I did my bit. Here we go. This is amazing. This cannot be true. Is it true? We had a chicken alert from 100 years ago.
Yes.
We also have a chicken alert from last week. Chicken alert! Chicken alert! I'm gonna get a heart attack doing this one day. Like 10, 15 years from now, I'm still doing this show. I do one of these alerts and I just keel over.
What a way to go.
Yeah, that's the way I'm meant to go. Chicken alert, ladies and gentlemen. An animal control officer responded to a caller's
Oh my
report.
God, David.
What?
Insane while doing it.
Yes, I do. A caller reported neglected chickens and ducks in a coop that, quote, smells very bad. The officers came, they found the animals looked fine, and he smelled very little odor. So, which is amazing, because even the best kept chickens and ducks, you'd be around them long. I mean, we had dogs, and you knew we had dogs, and then they were pretty well cared for. So I don't know, but anywho.
I just put a little chicken saying whoa.
Oh,
Cute.
let's do. Did we do? I think we did. Yeah, no, we did that last week. I should have.
You don't want the word of the chicken of the. Where's my?
Oh, I'm not going to do Dave's Big Dictionary because I'll after all the other stuff.
Yeah.
There'll just be time where I want to go off on like the week and what happened. So I'm not going to make time for the dictionary this week. All right, let's do one more. Let's do one more alert. Okay. Wait. Easy. No. This is a boredom alert. This is a boredom alert. A caller on 44th Avenue reported a neighbor was trying to jump up and set off the caller's security cameras. It's like, this is such a typical, normal, whatever. It's no real story there.
That's good though, right? Isn't that good? They test your cameras for you.
Yeah, exactly. I believe so. This is a more kind of normal, a boredom alert didn't work at all. See, I try new things, just went nowhere. Let's try this one. Police responded to 14th Avenue, where a man with a brown paper bag was screaming and pounding on doors.
Maybe he was looking for those blueberries.
That could be, or I'm thinking maybe he was saying, I really need to flush this. Would you let him in? Well, I don't know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that on this November 7th, 2020 was Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, 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 yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, Dave's Gone By, live on this November 7th with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce, with Potato, of course. And what else do I want to mention? No, I don't really want to mention anything except to let you know that this program is partially brought to you by the fine folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, New York. So the Toron family has owned and operated this franchise of the Minuteman Press franchise. And they do it in the heart of Hewlett, Long Island. It's like 2.5 blocks from the train station. It's across the street from the Petco. It's in that little strip mall where they've been for like 30, 40 years, except they moved like 2 doors over and stuff, but they're still there. And they're doing fine quality work in printing, in binding, in silk screening. If you have something that you want to help get the word out about your business, and it's so hard, now, nobody's going in, everything's online, but you still are going to need letterhead. You're going to need logos designed. There are teams playing sports, and maybe you've got a company, and your way of getting the word out about what you do is getting your company's design. You're sponsoring the team, but in return, they're wearing your name on their uniforms. Hewlett Minuteman Press can help with that. They also do flyers and banners and balloons, business cards. They also do, and digital business cards as well. And they also do wedding invitations. They can help your company grow. You want to send out calendars? People still need calendars, right? So your picture, your logo on every month with something different, Hewlett Minuteman Press can brand it beautifully. So give them a call, 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Remember, Hewlett Minuteman Press, they are the copy kings of Broadway. And if you mention Dave from Dave's Gone By, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So it can be like a one-sided, piece of paper that they're copying, double-sided color, laminated special paper, legal paper, giant, they can do it. And 10% off if you tell them I sent you. 516-569-5577, 516-569-5577, Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. Well, I was mentioning also earlier, just reminding you about the ways to sample and enjoy the wares of Dave's Gone By. Well, where we are is Long Island, but the wares of Dave's Gone By of all the stuff that we've been doing for 18 years. Our previous 770 episodes, almost all of them, are archived at davesgoneby.com, davesgoneby.com, Dave like my name. And so you want to listen to that first show we did where it was all scripted back in 2002? It's there, it's free. You can either stream it on your computer or download it as an MP3. And that goes for like the 12th episode, the 150th episode, the 500th, the 700th episode. They're all there, waiting for you. All that comedy, all that weirdness, the eccentricity, the interviews, the music, davesgoneby.com. Plus, we even have a separate archive of all the interviews that we've done. Because I was talking earlier about the playwright Charles Mee and Vince Giordano, and we were talking about, and it's already gone out of my head. Who was the other person that we were just talking about? Black 47's Larry Kerwin. These are recent interviews. They're there. If you missed them, go to davesgoneby.com. There's a search box. You can find them really, really easily. So all of that stuff is at davesgoneby.com. I just need to check my mail for a moment to see what's happening with the guest in the Daverhood.
Did you check your phone?
I did. Let's just see. So forgive me, folks. Talk amongst yourselves. Chat gently and humorously amongst yourselves. Let me just, forgive me. And of course, this is running a little bit slowly. I didn't check my other email this morning, so I just want to make sure to do this and this and, oh, would you mind taking this?
Sure. Hello.
Dum-de-dum-de-dum.
Hello.
We either got a call from our guest or we got a spam call. Hold on one moment, please. This is the other problem. I don't get to play music. I don't get breaks on here. So maybe we'll end up having to do him on the telephone. We'll see.
David, the guest is in the meeting. He's saying waiting to be let in. He's in the waiting room.
I do not see him.
Are you on the right link, David? He's just gonna.
Yeah. So we've got a guest who's trying to get in. Well, so forgive me. Go get lunch. We'll be back in a minute or two because how do I resend him the link, which I just tried to do? Tell him to check his mail, please. And he's female, but
yeah. So David, please send him the link.
I did. I literally just sent him a moment ago the link to the program. So, actually, I could play a little bit of. Where's my sent mail? Here we go. No. Yeah, that's the link. So yeah, tell him to check his email and his spam filter. I have a very
Let's see, David. So he should.
I have a very sophisticated spam filter.
Can you check and see if he's in the room? He's gonna check.
I am not getting any participants. I'm not getting any. No. So ask him to please try again.
Yeah, he's using the link that you gave him, and he's not in that. You might be in a different link, David.
How do I find out what link I'm on? Because I can send that really quick.
I don't know. How did you start the meeting? Sorry. Click on that link and see if you let yourself in.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Hold on a moment. In less than a moment, we will be back.
Good.
Hello, Mr. Sapoznik.
Sir, yeah.
Yes. Oh, Sir Sapoznik. Oh, indeed. So we are live, and I want to welcome you very, very much to the Daverhood, of course. Sorry that you had some trouble getting into the room. We had some issues. What? Oh, yeah. The thing is, as you know, although I would love to have the honor of interviewing you on the program, I'm not going to be doing the actual interview. You know this. You know that.
Yeah, I read your email.
Yes, the great. You're one of the only people who actually reads my email. See, that's a mug. Look at the. Could you hold up your mug, please? Show the size of that thing. Is that 20?
Oh, come on. This is the smallest one I could find. So, all right, there's a man who knows.
That's a 20 ounce. I've only got 16. So when I make coffee in the morning with a Keurig, I get like this, the sliver of milk. I've got to sip it down before I put my sugar in. It's terrible. I need a mug. I need a soup tureen.
I totally get it.
So alas, I'm not going to get the honor of talking to you any more than this, because the great, the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Sol Solomon will be doing the honors of talking to our guest, Hank Sapoznik. So while we watch him for a moment, we've been having all these chicken alerts.
Right. Yep.
Let's hear something chicken-ish from Henry Sapoznik musically.
This is a song that was written by the great Yiddish composer, Reuben Doctor. His mother, I'm sure, had wished it had been the other way around. But so it's a song called Chicken.
chicken. Oh, so delicious and so delighted to be here with Henry Sapoznik. May I call you Hank, by the way? Or Hank?
By the end of the conversation, I think we'll be there.
By the end of it, so not yet. Now I have to call you Sir
We're
Henry.
working. Sir Henry.
Actually, what is your Jewish name?
Chaim Heinach.
Chaim Heinach. I love it. Chaim Heinach is with us in the Daverhood. Now, how do we know who this man is? First of all, you had me at Bang Jew. You had this is
That's a low hanging fruit there, Red. That's
only my doctor knows how low my fruits hang. Let me tell you. But no, he is
TMI.
a music scholar. He actually wrote the very first real book about klezmer music. He started archiving projects at YIVO, including Yiddish music and radio broadcasts. He is a 5-time Grammy nominee and an Emmy-nominated music producer, and not just in the most important thing, the Jewish stuff, but in quote-unquote regular music too, like country and folk music. He's got most recent album is called Proto Billy, the DNA of country music, where you gather all these old recordings that would become bluegrass and hillbilly and Alan Jackson, shall we say. So also he is a performer, a founding member of Kapelye, which is one of those early klezmer groups, and the creator of Klez Camp, actually dating a girl who went to Klez Camp, and now she's a lesbian, but I'm sorry.
Whoa!
Oh, ladies, please will you welcome to the Daverhood, Chaim, what was it?
Heinach.
Chaim Heinach. Shalom to you. How are you?
Good to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Nice
thank you.
neighborhood.
We're delighted and honored by your presence. So we have so much to talk about, so much about music and things. So tell me, how did you first get into this love of Yiddish and Yiddish music and Yiddish radio?
Grew up in a Yiddish world. My parents were both Holocaust survivors, and Yiddish was my first language. So we grew up in a pretty insular, Holocaust survivors and their families tended to be pretty insular because it was difficult assimilating after the early 50s. Things hadn't yet, American Jewry still hadn't yet come to grips with how it responded.
There's something happening over there.
I heard a rumor.
War over it, but we're just going to liberate the camps. Let other people do that.
Yiddish culture was still active among the survivors, unlike most American Jews at that time. The Holocaust survivors came over with fully intact Yiddish literacy and Yiddish cultural literacy. So stuff still survived, like the Catskills and Yiddish radio and what was left of Yiddish vaudeville and stage shows. So I was lucky to have experienced that firsthand, to grow up in the soundscape. And being in a Hasidic yeshiva gave me a real old-fashioned education, which I am very grateful.
So a Hasidic yeshiva. So were you Orthodox? Were your parents?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My father was a chazan. He was. He was an Orthodox chazan. Towards the end, he started davening in more conservative shuls, but he came up, as most of the traditional chazanim came up in Orthodoxy. So yeah.
So many questions. For Chaim Heinach here. First of all, and please note, you talk to a Jew for 2 minutes, the Holocaust comes up immediately. This is just the way it happens. But let me ask, when you say your parents were Holocaust survivors, were they in camps, or did they just get the hell out of Germany in the middle of the 1940s somehow, or Austria, or Poland? Where? What aspect of the Holocaust did they endure, and how did they get out?
My family was from the part of Poland, which was formed after World War I, and that was under the Soviets, under the Non-Aggression Pact. So Jews in the eastern part of Poland actually had it relatively easier.
Just pogroms, not actual.
Well, under the Soviets, during that period, the Soviets were not, I mean, they were still sending people to Siberia. But in the area that we lived in, the region, at least in our limited way, the Soviets were as benign a demonic force as you can get. So, and proven that when the Germans,
yeah.
Well, that's how it was. But anyway, the Red Army allowed Jewish refugees to retreat east with them. Unlike so a lot of the Ravna who did from my family, in fact, tomorrow we're having an askura, an annual memorial service for the murdered Jews from Ravna. And we do that as all lunch.
It's a fun thing, this water.
Yeah, it's real bubbly, fizzy,
bobbing for knishes. So it's a great time. But so it doesn't sound like they were Holocaust survivors. It just sounded like they got out of Russia. Wait, where?
No, they were Holocaust survivors. The Germans were bombing them, and they escaped. That's pretty survival. That's pretty basic survival. Get out of the way. They escaped as the Germans were bombing the city. That's a
World War II survivor, not the I'm
Wait, are we?
I'm splitting hairs, and between the two of us, we don't have a lot of hairs to split. But the point is, it's like when someone says Holocaust survivor, I'm thinking they were in a ghetto, or they were in a camp, or they were hiding in the woods with the partisans, as opposed to being in like Russia during World War II, during like everybody. It was like people in the London Blitz in London running into the cellars. They were not Holocaust survivors. They were just survivors of World War II. I don't mean to be. I am being.
No, this is exactly the conversation I had with the Spielberg, were documenting the Holocaust, where they refused to interview my parents because they said, as you were saying, that they are not "quote unquote" Holocaust survivors. Instead, using a metric, an ahistorical metric, of only using what I called the designer Holocaust. Oh, were you in a ghetto? Were you in a camp? That's ahistorical. A survivor is someone who makes, either by their own initiative or by elements of history, survive. And so in their case, there was a proactive, my father, who was in the Polish, before the war, was in the Polish cavalry. He was a sergeant in the cavalry, and when the Russians took over, he was in the Red Army.
And of course, the Polish cavalry, they were underwater. It's a very strange Polish.
It was yeah. I mean, no one had. It was they would have preferred being underwater, fighting against the Panzers in September of '39. So anyway, so that's my. So I
don't want to rake you over the coals on this, and I'm not trying to be aggressive or whatever, but it's sometimes like the Spielberg people, it's different. If you're Jewish, the
Spielberg people, yeah, they relented because they were wrong. And
if you were Jewish and fighting, let's say, in Germany with an American uniform as an American soldier, and you're being shot at by Germans and you're trying to shoot them, you're not a Holocaust survivor, even though it's 1943 and you're on German soil. You are a survivor of the war. That's my
opinion.
Yeah.
That's your opinion, and it's not an historical analysis. So let's agree that as an historian, I have somewhat more of an advantage of being able to look at these things as opposed to. So that being
the other question for you,
yes,
about your parents is, assuming they had that survivor mentality. By the way, see, you don't have this mug. I have this.
I do not have that one.
So they came out, and your dad is a cousin, and he's a cantor, and he's Orthodox for most of his life. Why, considering what they underwent, and everybody they knew underwent, and 6 million people who didn't come out underwent, why did they even stay Jewish, let alone believing and continuing the synagogue and continuing this tradition? Why didn't they say, "Shtuk God, we're just going to be atheists because there's no God"?
Yeah, that's a big post-war. Faith transcends facts in a lot of ways. There was a faith in the continuity that, I mean, we are cyclically beset by unbelievable tragedy. I mean, you can almost set your watch to it. So the idea that someone, yeah, there it is, your time mix. So I think there was, a lot of people attempted to, after the war, assimilate, convert, deny who they were. My family were very Proste Yidden. They were just everyday Jews, nothing out of the ordinary. And their continuity they would never have emigrated to the United States. My family would never have come here if there had not been a war. They loved that life. They loved the life in Ravna. Then they never saw, I do have relatives who came to America, but my immediate family. So I think they held on to it because this was the life and the world they knew. And they navigated through an America that had an imperfect way of dealing with these kinds of communities.
Well, let me ask you, was your first language English or Yiddish, or a polyglot of both?
Well, first language was Yiddish because it was in an insular home and community. My yeshiva, I was going to yeshiva really early.
That would have been Hebrew, though. That would have been.
Well, that would be davening, and that would be Chumash and Talmud, but we teached in Yiddish. So in Lubavitch, you teached in Yiddish. So it was trilingual. It was Ivre. It was.
I've done that, and my jaw hurts. It's yeah.
Yeah, well, try my jaw. So that's why I was trilingual. So yes.
And jaw. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yes, you'll get over it. So yeah. So my first language was.
So let me ask you now, because of the kind of music that you often play, even though as we know, you go into country music, you go into proto-billy and all different kinds of non-Jewish, non-ethnic kinds of music as well. But when you do concerts and stuff, do you get the Hasidic crowd? Or are they so insular and they're not allowed to do this or watch or is it just basically Jews and Americans and people around the world who like this kind of music, but you're not getting the one crowd that actually does speak Yiddish?
Hasidim, you have to play Hasidic music. There's a real interest in the Hasidic world now. It's a real change in the last 20 years of a real enthusiastic return to Yiddish culture of before World War II. So old-fashioned kind of cantors like Yosla Rosenblatt and these kinds of, like my father was, Hasidim are really into it. And they were also first time in half a century that Hasidim are really playing klezmer music and really playing the hell out of it. It's really, really exciting to see it become an active part of contemporary Hasidic life. Because it's not like what Hasidic music was for a bunch of years, the Chassid disco and all these like really grotty kind of fusion music. They're getting back into this. Is so phenomenal. So I don't play much. Who among us are playing much anymore? But
I have my ocarina. I look at this. I just got this week. I'm very excited about this. I have a.
Nice. Is that a whole or a full cell?
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. You got to cut the end off to really get it.
Well, if you're Jewish, yeah. But that's comedy right there. So by the way, I just have to ask, did you know or did you work with or deal with our late friend of the Daverhood, Vel Pasternak, who was an archivist himself?
Vel published my first klezmer book when he published The Complete Klezmer in 1987. And that was the first klezmer tune book in a half a century. And Velvel was I don't have to tell you, he was one of a kind. He was a real visionary. Velvel saw decades ahead. He invented a platform for the active continuity of traditional Jewish music in his basement. He had a whole empire. He invented this world, and no one even is second. No one has done more than Velvel. Recordings, books, concerts, lectures. The man.
Well, are you kind of second? Are you somewhere in the top 5, considering how much you collect and how much you have played and archived and so forth?
I'm not a publisher. I mean, I put out records. I had a record label for a while. No, I don't. I would rather focus on the content than be the person who has to be concerned about the distribution and the distributors and making sure the royalties. That's why what Velvel did was such a gift to liberate people who wanted to just focus on Jewish cultural continuity, and he would make it as easy as possible. He said, hey, you just do the content, I'll take care of everything else.
It's important to have those people. It really
He was great.
So,
smart and funny and cynical, not cynical, sardonic.
Yeah. Are you, I mean, you seem, you're very, very smart, quite obviously. How would you say that on a scale of being a
All right, where do I send the check?
No, I mean, you're obviously a very intelligent person. Do you have a doctorate or a master's, or what's your background?
Nope. No, the City University.
Yeah.
Graduated City University. No, mostly an autodidact. That's
a smart person would use the word autodidact as opposed to self-taught. No, you definitely, yeah. And by the way, I autodidact with this hand, just so you know.
No, don't. We are beyond TMI.
Too much, yes, way too much.
Speaking
of which, how are you managing in the pandemic? How are you just spending your time? Are you? We literally last week or 2 weeks ago we talked to Vince Giordano, and he said he puts on records and he'll play saxophone or one of the woodwind instruments, so to like one of those instruction records, and that's how he'll feel like he's playing with a band. What do you do?
I'm really not. I'm playing, but mostly I haven't really played Jewish music in quite a while, man. About a year.
Shame. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, it's about community, and it's about who I play with as much as what I play. And I'm really thrilled. I mean, klezmer has taken off. It's become a viable, self-contained genre. I'm not playing it that much now. I played it for, most of my, more than half of my life.
Because you put together that protobilly, the country music, is that where we are physically playing as well as collecting and listening?
Well, the Protobilly project, I've toggled, my whole career has been toggling back and forth between Yiddish and American traditional, the TMI 5. So the idea, I mean, the Protobilly project, the idea of examining American popular music by looking at its roots in blackface minstrelsy, which was the whole kind of editorial thing, and for me, that was a whole universe, and especially now, I didn't, the whole point about reassessing the relationship with Black culture and seeing where we are as a society. I tend to look at it through the music. I am still doing Jewish projects. I'm involved now. I have a blog on my website, and I've just finished a series where I talked about Black cantors.
Yes. Now, it's funny, I get into trouble when I use the word schwarze, but it just means black. You're a schwarze chazan.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. And that's a big thing for me, that schwarze has been demonized.
Yes.
And that people have, in and of itself, it's not a bad word. And it's the context that defines it. And I'm really happy to say, actually, that and if you look at my blog, I use the term without apologizing without contextualizing, because I'm quoting the period
Right.
prose. The blog series ended up, it's still getting a lot of hits. It's gotten about 60 or 70,000 hits, and a lot of African Americans, a lot of shares, a lot of stuff that reached into the contemporary Black community, musicologists, cultural activists. I got not one complaint about the use of the word
Sure,
shuffle.
yeah. But tell us about this guy. It was I forget his, do I have his name here, of the most
Thomas
famous
LaRue.
Black. It wasn't a very Jewy name. It was something like
Thomas LaRue Jones.
Right. Yeah, Thomas LaRue Jones, the Schwarze Chasen. I mean, how did that even happen? It wasn't a falasha. It was what?
It's such an amazing story, and I have to say, I wish I could answer that most basic question, because there's two levels to the reveal. There's the public persona, and then there's the private persona. The public persona of who Thomas LaRue Jones was is pretty accessible, because I found he was covered pretty extensively in the Yiddish press. And I've been doing a lot of, I've collected about 160 period newspaper articles about him, a lot of them in the Yiddish press. And so I know the public persona, but the question of how did he get into this? What was the social, what was the underpinning of, because he was from Newark, and I looked through, there's been some fabulous work on the history of Jewish Newark. It was a very active community, but nobody has researched the interaction between the Jewish community and the Black community.
Yes.
Just yesterday, I got an email from a woman who read the article in the Times of Israel about my project, and she told me that her father was a choir boy in a choir singing for a Black cantor, and I just was so, I mean, that put so much meat on the bones that he's gone.
Wow. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but his brothers and cousins are still around. So I'm going to be interviewing them. I am so excited, because this then is laying the groundwork to answer your question. What was the environment that created a Thomas LaRue Jones to become so literate in Jewish ritual and the two Jewish languages? His Hebrew and his Yiddish were impeccable.
But was he rapping? Was it more like Yiska Dalby, Yiska Dashra, Shmei Rabba, 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 Rabba?
It's rep. There is no ass sound in Yiddish, so it has to be rep. And he was. I played his recordings for some people who didn't know the story. I said, linguists, historians. I said, listen to this recording. And tell me about this guy? He says, oh, well, this guy is obviously pretty eastern part of Poland. His dialect is, and they were describing someone who was within the community. They didn't, because the sound of his voice is not a Black man imitating. It was someone who had completely internalized this, and it was so thrilling. It was like a Henry Higgins thing, passing off, Audrey Hepburn.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, was he sort of treated like a magnificent freak? Because within the community, also without, it's like, oh, he sounds like a Jewish normal cantor, but look at him. Oh, let's parade him, as opposed to him being just another cantor. Yeah, Venus Hottentot,
that was the point. There was a benefit at that time, because vaudeville allowed an incredible array of possibilities of what you could present on the popular stage, and vaudeville was incredibly forgiving and inclusive. So I'm really excited. I mean, the story is emerging about not just him, but about the dozen or so other Black cantors, including a woman, who were active.
Correct. Yeah, a cantorina, we might.
Okay, yeah. Well, they were the chazantes, as they were. But anyway, it's fascinating stuff. I am not performing this stuff. I'm going back to my roots of being a musicologist and just putting a spotlight on this. So that's what I'm working on now, the history. And it's a good time to be doing this history because it reveals a dynamic, a social dynamic that we're sort of in need of right now. This whole thing about a bridge between cultures. So I'm happy that, and honestly, I'm even happier that the contemporary press of that era was the Yiddish press. I'm talking about were unbelievably accepting and enthusiastic as opposed to cynical or suspicious, which there was. And there were issues of race. It's a complicated story, but
it sounds absolutely, and this happening still within the time when you had people like Eddie Cantor, and we had Eddie Cantor's grandson on the program many times. He's a friend of the Daverhood, and Al Jolson, who were Jewish secular-like performers, but smearing on the grease paint and the big white lips. So it all gets really, really tangled up there in the same vaudeville show. It's like there's this non-observant Jewish person smeared with blackface, and then here's a Black guy doing Yiddish cantor. It's like, wow, it's an amazing place.
Yeah, and that's what the Yiddish writers at the time were marveling. They had enough self-awareness that they could look, they had a 180-degree view of Jewish popular culture and American popular culture. And I translated this one article where the guy says, look, folks, this is not some Jewish guy like Al Jolson. This is an actual Black man who has and it was so, the deconstruction of that was so contemporary. I mean, it's what I would say, oh yeah, this is someone who has like a real strong now contemporary analysis. So I was so thrilled to find that Yiddish journalists of the 1920s took this thing up and presented it because it passed, it was great music, and their Yiddish and their Hebrew, because the shibboleth, because they transcended if he couldn't pronounce it, or if, like you said, if it had been like a joke, like it had been, he would be doing like Cab Calloway kind of thing.
Well, it even reminds me of what was that? There's a band, I think it was Journey, where they had the lead singer Steve Perry, and they go looking for somebody who sounds like Steve Perry, and they find this Japanese kid, and he's singing it just the same way. He's got that. Yeah, I mean, not everybody thinks he's as good as Steve Perry was, but it's like, if you don't see him, if you don't see somebody who looks like he was, bombing the Bulge back in 1944, you think, oh, it's just some white guy singing like Steve Perry. You know what I'm saying?
I had my Bulge bombed. I don't remember the last time. It's unbelievable.
Speaking of, are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have little Sapoznikets or what?
No junior Sapozniks. No.
But what about a lady in your life?
Not at the moment.
Oh, okay. And certainly with the pandemic, it's very, it's obviously.
I have a dog. That's good, but
you have a. Where's the dog? Show us the dog. Can you show us the dog? Where's the dog? I love dogs.
Oh, he'll believe me. He'll be.
He'll show it. That's all right. But what's lovely is that I try and swing this conversation around to all these different aspects of music, and you're the one who keeps bringing it back to the Jewish part, which is great. So then let me now swing it to the Jewish thing of Yiddish Radio. You did this series on NPR, and I just last night again listened to the one about the commercials, which is one of the funniest things I've ever. Absolutely hysterical.
Jerry Stiller, his readings of the translations of the hernia.
Yes. Don't get a rupture. No,
Unbelievable. Yeah, I was, oh man, worked with such wonderful people who really got into it. Yeah, the Yiddish radio stuff, it's kind of like the Black Cantor thing. It's something that was hiding in plain sight, but no one really curated it. They didn't account for it. They acknowledged it. They said, "Oh yeah, there was Yiddish radio," and then,
and not just in New York. This Philadelphia, was it? I mean, I saw pocket. Well, I don't know. The Midwest probably didn't have much.
Lots. You know how many stations there were between 1925 and 1960 across the country that had, at one time or another, Jewish or Yiddish programming? I counted 176.
Really?
Yes.
I'm literally shocked by that, because maybe in California, one, New York, East Coast, maybe 5 stations, and I don't know. Wow.
In Brooklyn, the New York area itself was 25 stations.
Of Yiddish?
Of Yiddish and Jewish programming, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I was born in the wrong era, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my point, is that here this thing was that was so widespread. Every community had some access. And P.S., we don't know how many people were listening to stations in New York, a station like WBNX, which had 5,000 watts of powers in the Bronx. That could be heard on a clear night in Los Angeles. You would be able to, it would go 3,000.
It's amazing. You have a station that can be heard on 5,000 watts, a station they could hear in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, now you're breaking up in the internet in 2020, and we're losing some of what you're saying.
We've made such progress.
But no, I remember, I'm not so old that I remember those things. The last bastion was WEBD in New York, with the Art Raymond and the Sunday Simcha and all of that. But that was sort of the dwindling end of that. EVD is gone, or it's now Spanish.
I was the last producer at EVD of the signature, the diamond and the tiara of the WEVD programming, the Forward Hour. It used to be owned by the Jewish Daily Forward.
Yeah.
So I was the last producer of trying to sustain the kind of programming at one time. I mean, it was an incredible presence. Anyway, when I was working there, one of the benefits of my being the last host of the Forward Hour, and they wouldn't let me go live. Very little was live at that point. So I would go in and I would go to the station in the dead of night to record my show. But while I was there, I went through all of the files and the record library, and I found so many shows, so many acetate discs of old shows that someone had misfiled at some point, or someone had put in a record sleeve and said, "I'll get back to this." The whole history.
How wonderful that it wasn't live, because it would have been like the kinescopes from half the shows in the 1950s, it would have been gone. But because it was pre-recorded, somebody saved all this.
Yeah.
How much were you able to get, not from WEBD, but in putting together your research for the NPR show and the NPR show itself? Were you able to get many tapes or things from these stations that weren't New York BNX or EBD, but like in Philadelphia, in Minnesota, in North Dakota, or is that all gone? You just knew that there were stations, but there's nothing extant.
Actually, in the outwash of the Yiddish Radio Project series on NPR, because we were on for 12 weeks and we got like 13 million listeners a week to this. So that opened up, that did a lot of the outreach. I was able to, when I was doing the research for the series, 90% of the material were New York materials. And the only reason that those survived were not because of the station, but because an individual performer or their family proactively ingathered scripts, correspondence, the acetate discs, photographs.
We lost you for a moment. Very sorry.
Yeah, I was saying that it was.
I'm very sorry. Are you still there? You just froze completely, and we lost. I'm sorry, what you said. Yeah.
I said that the only way that for the most part that any of the materials survived was that if the individual person whose show it was or his family saved the primary stuff, the photographs, the scripts, the correspondence, the broadcasts. So that's how most of the stuff survived.
Now, where is the stuff? Do you have like a repository now? Are you giving it to a library? A school? Where is your stuff?
My collection is at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress.
Very nice.
I was I had actually, and this is going to probably sound weird, but I got a lot of offers from Hebrew University, a bunch of other Jewish repositories who wanted the collection. And I said no.
Nothing weird about that. It's understandable.
No, I would be, but I wanted this stuff in an American repository because I believe that this was a uniquely American Jewish experience, that the kind of Yiddish radio that was created in the United States was totally unique compared to Jewish broadcasting anywhere else in the world. And I think it needed to be in an archives where someone can see it clearly as part of a larger American narrative of true multiculturalism. So I was really thrilled that the stuff is in the American Folklife Center, because that's what they're about, curation. And that's what if the stuff is just sitting in an archive somewhere, is of no interest to me. I curate, that's what it's about. So yeah, that's where it is.
Now, let me ask you, of all the things that you've run across, whether it's photographs or sheet music or music itself or old acetates, what is like or perhaps an ancient DVD? Because those happened like 150 years ago. You get these DVDs, it's amazing. But what is like the prize of your, even if you don't physically have it, but what's the thing that you found that you were the most like, I cannot believe I'm lucky enough to have discovered or uncovered this?
Wow. I think what it is, I think if I'm going to choose one at this moment, if you ask me in 22 minutes from now, I'll think of something else. But what is the most astounding piece of footage, of sound footage, would have to be a broadcast from 1942 of Itzik Pfeffer and Solomon Mikhoels, who were Russian. They were Soviet artists, Yiddish theater and writers, who had come to the United States in 1942, right after the Non-Aggression Pact, when the Soviet Union was looking to bolster support for the new alliance between the Soviet Union and the United States in the fight against the Nazis. One of the big and most troubling myths to come out of the Holocaust was that Jews in concentration camps, when they were being killed, were being turned into soap. So
that is a complete myth, you're saying?
Yes. And what's so astounding about it was that I have the broadcast where it is first mentioned, where the whole concept of Jews being turned into soap was part of Mikhoels and was part of what was called the Jewish Anti-Fascist League, who were coming to the United States to raise money and consciousness. And it is so astounding because it's an amazing broadcast, because the immediacy of his appeal. Mikhoels was a superb actor, really terrific, one of the great Yiddish actors of all time. And this speech it was a stump speech that he was taking around the country to raise the consciousness and money, clearly was used to heighten to like get people fighting mad. And they came up with this myth And
So you're saying that not to everybody's knowledge, there was not even one camp, one Mengele person, one crazy, let's try this once. Let's take the fat from these people and boil it and turn it. That would never, it was a complete and utter myth.
What was, I can't say that because the Holocaust, I think we probably know maybe half, maybe a third of what happened. So any weird thing you can think of, yeah, probably happened.
I mean, I have ancestors who were turned into dishwashing liquid. So it's a little bit different. They tried. It made the dish even greasier.
The next generation would do it better. I think the myth was the industrial rate of producing soap out of Jews. The idea that there was an industrial prerogative to not only destroy the Jews, but to have this cynical, freakish outcome. And I think I think that heightened it. But anyway, that's what I would say, having that original broadcast and being able to put it in the moment, because you see it both in the moment and the outwash for generations.
And where is that also in the Library of Congress, or is it you never posted on the interwebs anywhere? So
Not yet. I'm that disc. Yeah, that disc has actually been transferred. In fact, those discs are really, they're the most troubling, because during the war, discs, and this was, of course, stations had to record their shows, because the FCC, if there was a complaint, you needed to have an actual document to refute the complaint. So most discs were, at that time, were made on aluminum base. They were aluminum base discs with an emulsion, a rubbery emulsion. It's called acetate, and it's just etched into the emulsion. But anyway, during the war, they needed the aluminum for the war effort, for the aviation and for armaments. So discs were made out of glass. And glass discs were, I don't have to tell you how fragile.
Yeah.
So the fact that anything survives of war era Yiddish radio, and that this particular broadcast survived, is just.
And the interesting thing is they stopped making those discs out of glass and started making them out of Jews. I may be the first person to go on radio and say this to you, but they did.
I think that's fake Jews.
Oh, fake Jews, says the banned Jew. By the way, but I've overstayed my particular welcome, but you have not, Hank Sapoznik, Henry Sapoznik. May I call you now Hank, even though I was calling you?
Now it's Sir Hank.
Sir Hank, excuse me. We are calling this episode of the Dave's Gone By program Suppository, as opposed to Repository.
I haven't heard that all day. That's
that's so. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to go. But please, if you don't mind, Chaim, we want you to stay on and play with Dave and his special guest, David Sheward, who is a theater critic, longstanding theater critic, and former head of the drama desk, and to play the Yesterday trivia quiz, which is not particularly Jewish in any way, if that's okay with you. Is it all right with you that it's more secular?
I'm sorry. No, it's your program. I mean,
it is my God. No, it's his.
Yeah,
program.
You should do what you want.
But before I bring in David Sheward to the Daverhood to play this game with Dave and with Chaim Sapoznik, let me remind people that his website is henrysapoznik.com. henrysapoznik.com. This is where you can find out how to get the Probability Collection, how to get to listen to the NPR stuff that he was doing, to find out all the things that you can listen to on the old Capella albums, all things Henry Sapoznik at henrysapoznik.com. So I have to unfortunately go, but Dave is coming right in. He's right in the hallway waiting. So please, while we're waiting, let's please listen to the Schwarzer Chazan, Thomas LaRue, doing one of my favorite big hits, Jigelaut Farlil mit den Hoffnung, Don't Give Up Hope.
Der Jid wird verloren. Bis am bei dem Jahr wird sich mehren. In Felsen und Sand, in Himmel die Sterne. In wo sind wir wohl?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
You know, it's catchy and you can dance to it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a bit of Thomas LaRue, the Black Cantor. And now, of course, we have three white Jewish people looking at you here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream. And those people include Hank, or may I call you Hank? I know Rabbi, I was calling you Chaim, but Henry Hank Sapoznik, the musicologist and the klezmer musician. We also have our wonderful recurring guest, David Sheward. Hello, David.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Okay. Just for the record, I'm not Jewish.
That's right. You did mention at one point. You're Jewish-esque because you're involved in the theater.
I'm culturally Jewish.
You're culturally Jewish. I'm sorry. Why did I? And you told me this 2 weeks ago, and I've completely forgotten. I'm so sorry. And I got that wrong. But so I'm afraid you have to leave. We allow Jews in this segment now.
How dare you? Okay.
Did you know that the whole Jews into soap thing was actually really, truly just a myth?
What?
It's a real thing. The whole Nazis turning Jews into soap was one thing that they didn't actually do.
Well, that's a whole separate. Did someone write a play about this?
My mind right there. You know, it's anyway, because we're just talking because two Jews in a room, they talk about the Holocaust. This is what happens. But welcome, Dave. How is everybody's week as we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait?
Not too bad.
Horn honking outside.
Oh! I was wondering what that was. It's a Trump protester. In
this neighborhood, yeah.
Not too bad because you're in Colorado, right?
Well, no, I'm in Long Island.
Oh, I thought you were. Why did I think that?
I lived in Colorado for many years. No, we've been back on Long Island for a year and a half.
Oh, okay. It was strange. Tuesday night, I had to go to bed early because I had to get up and teach school the next day, and I couldn't sleep. I went to bed, woke up at midnight, couldn't get back to sleep, opened my computer, and saw that Florida and Ohio went for Trump, and I was feeling kind of bad and thought, this is in 2016 all over again. And then I woke up the next morning and felt a lot better, saw that things were trending more towards Biden. And now I feel okay. Well, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, when things were first coming, I just felt this, like, not horror, but just this disappointment in the pit of my gut on election night. Because all these states, all the swing states were red. And by the way, and I've made no bones about this. I don't hate Trump the way so many other people do. I like him. I just don't like the other Republicans around him. But so, I did vote blue. But point is, once I did cast that ballot and send it back to Colorado, it's sort of like.
Oh, you vote in Colorado.
What?
That's why I said you're a Colorado voter.
Yeah, because I still have a Colorado driver's license.
I'm calling Trump people right away. That's an illegal vote.
It kind of is. Shh, don't tell anybody. It hasn't been counted yet.
Conspiracy.
It's like a mail truck, or
you're part of the vast right-wing, left-wing conspiracy. Then
I am indeed. But it's interesting how as soon as I made that decision and got the vote, and I was really angry at everybody who did vote for Trump or all these states that went for him, even though my pen hovered over the thing of Trump versus Biden for a long, long time. And then, this is, as Hank Sapoznik would say, if you're talking about someone who's pro-Jewish and pro-Israel, kind of hard to beat Trump. And there were other reasons too.
pro-Israel, and I think not even pro-Israel, pro-Netanyahu. I think Netanyahu and Trump were separated at birth, but it's they're emblematic. I think Trump has beguiled a large portion of the Orthodox community. He's turned them into fundamentalist Christians. It's really actually scary how Trump has successfully cleaved. The Jewish vote is basically intact. Runs at about 70% as a quote unquote bloc. But Trump has successfully put a schism because of his Zionist, because of his kowtowing to the people who are the rapturists, the end of days crowd, who need Israel.
They're my favorite crowd. Well, just
favorite crowd, yeah. Anyway, but that's one man's opinion.
No, it's all just at this point our opinions. But we're all making it through the week. We're all, just kind of like, let's keep the numbers trending blue. Let's
steady drip, drip.
Yes.
Every vote counts.
I do think that Biden is going to win. And but what's horrible is that there's a large portion of the population that buys Trump's crap about the election being illegitimate. They just believe whatever he says.
Well,
yeah. I mean, if you
I agree with you. The idea, count every vote. In fact, the one recording I put on my Facebook page that has been my guiding light were Words of Wisdom by the Gershwins. And I've been listening endlessly to the song from Girl Crazy, Biden My Time. Biden My Time. And that's how we have to approach this.
And we're just, because that was the thing. If they had just counted or stopped counting as Trump wanted them to on November 3rd, as opposed to counting all the votes that were legitimately cast by 8:59 p.m. on November 3rd, that it would be a whole different situation. But, I don't know. It's just, I'm just happy looking at the map right now. I don't know if they've counted all the military votes, which will probably go to
the provisionals are they're still coming in, and the provisional votes are the last. So there's
what about provisional? I don't even know what the hell that is.
Oh, that's votes with mistakes, or if, say, you lost your ballot in the mail, or you don't think they received it, and you went in on election day, and you had to put in a new one, and they set it aside because they had to confirm it, or there were issues with it.
Got it. And so we're hoping it won't get to that, but it'll get to that. Every single vote, even the mistaken votes, are going to have to count. So we finally. I've loved talking about this. I've also been stalling to get our other guest.
Okay. I thought.
Yeah. We may have audio from her or nothing yet. She's been having technical issues as we all have this week. But Leslie Hoban Blake should be joining us as the third contestant in our Today Yesterday quiz. We'll give her another minute or two, and then we'll actually start the game. But I've got to figure it out because it's different whether we play with 3 people or 2.
Okay.
So,
to your point earlier, I thought it was interesting. You said you don't hate Trump like some of us. I think he's the scum of the earth.
More than Mitch McConnell, more than
yes, he's a liar.
More than
he's
Mike
a pathological liar. He's a business failure. He's a con man.
Oh, business failure. Oh, you don't hate a man for failing.
No, I'm just saying, but he lies. His whole thing is a lie. It's a front. He got his money from his father, and as soon as his father died, all of his businesses went straight in the toilet, and he's leveraged debt, and so that no American company would give him any money. He stiffs his vendors.
I know the casino thing. Yep.
And it's like, and he doesn't believe in science. I could go on and on and on and on. Anybody who thinks it's okay to inject yourself with bleach.
Who was joking about that? Come on.
Who needs? Well, doesn't that?
Are you kidding me, David? Are you kidding me, David Lefkowitz? Did you see Birx's face when he said that?
Because he was thinking like, well, maybe there's some way of doing this. Maybe, but he wasn't really saying go. Except some idiot cracker Southern wise.
No, David. He was actually thinking this is a possibility. I want this thing to be gone. I want it to be gone. I'll try anything.
Look, America is overpopulated. There's too many people. So it's
Yeah,
tough to
right.
believe that if he was waiting out like 50 to 100 people who would actually do it and dying with it, no loss.
No,
It would
thanks for
actually be
bringing humor.
a
No,
higher
no,
quality of American left.
no.
After.
He's a dangerous sociopath, and in
So
20
I get. Yeah.
in 20 years, he will. It's people will see, or well, whatever. I mean, you know, I just think he's a very dangerous person,
He might.
and let alone someone like that should not be president.
Now, speaking of dangerous people, I see finally a microphone popping up by
Okay.
Leslie's name in the chat room. Leslie, can you at least speak to us? And the answer is no.
Can she put anything in the chat?
Well, no, I physically see her.
Oh.
I've admitted her, but it's a technical thing.
We just see
Admit her again.
little,
Hold on.
See her name.
we just
Yeah.
see a little tile that says Leslie.
And now she's joining. Last chance, and then we've got to, it's not fair to keep Hank waiting. And
There we go.
no, let's see.
It looks like okay.
Someone else?
Oh, it's
It
the
looks
Black
like-
Cancer. Look at him.
maybe-
There.
Black tile.
I see a forehead.
Yeah.
A very pretty forehead indeed. Leslie, can you hear us? Can you see us? Can you anything us?
Can you see us?
We can see clearly now. Yeah. Can you tilt the camera just a little bit? By the way, we see you, Les. We're still waiting for you. Even though it says her camera's off. This is the weird part.
Well, I think she has one. Maybe she's on.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going to remove the other Leslie. I hope that doesn't remove her completely. Well, you know what? I'm not going to mess
Oh,
with it.
okay. I just saw.
God help me. Can you
There
hear
we
me now?
Now we can. Now we can.
Oh, now we
Now we
can.
can.
Oh,
Now
you
we
can
can.
hear me? You
Now
can
we
see me? Oh my God, there I am.
Well, we can't see you, but we can hold it. Here we can't see you, but we can hold it.
I am so sorry. I've been working on this for over 15 minutes.
I'm very
I
sorry.
thought it was
Leslie.
10:45. I didn't know it was 10:30. I thought it was 10:45.
No, it's 10:45. Actually, I forgot to tell David that we need a little extra time with our guest.
Hello.
Turn your radio down.
No, yes. Ah, okay.
I think
Ah,
There we
Maybe.
go.
she's on there twice. In the speed
And just
test.
turn your audio down, and I think we can actually get started.
There's
But
something
welcome.
wrong with something wrong with my microphone.
Wait, your speaker, and if you can hear us without us. Actually, I want to hear how this sounds when
Am
Leslie
I okay now?
start the pickle.
Oh, David, stop monkeying around. There's a delay on mine.
Yeah. Oh boy, this is. I don't know if we can.
Maybe.
I don't know what's going on.
I think there are two. She's there twice, and one of them.
Oh,
has-
that's why. I'm gonna have to get rid of one of you, Leslie. I'm gonna get rid of the
Oh,
one.
I'm in
who
two
doesn't have a
rooms
camera.
at the same time.
You're on there twice.
let's
There,
try.
there we go. How's that? Now you're muted.
oh, you're muted.
Now
Wait,
you're muted.
Leslie,
Unmute
unmute your microphone. Maybe I
Unmute
can
yourself.
ask to unmute. There we go.
Is that any better?
There we,
Ah!
there we go.
I am so
I'm afraid we-
sorry, gentlemen in the corner whom I don't know. Henry, I'm so sorry. I am truly sorry.
We've run.
I
out of
could hear
time
you
for this kind of
talking. I assumed it was about the monster in the White House before.
Well,
Yes, I was defending to some extent, and then I took some moves for. I know.
I'm going to leave. I know it took me forever to get in, but I will leave.
well,
Good Lord, wow. Yeah.
no, I wouldn't do that.
But we all have to come together now, Leslie. We're all one nation. We all must love each other and support each other.
But you voted the right. You voted the
I did vote.
The right way, David. Right. Whatever the right way is, I voted that way. Yes.
It was not. It was well. Congratulations. How
And
was
I
your
voted
voting,
in
guys?
person.
Did you have to stand online for a long
No, the voting is in my building, and I went in the middle of the day, and there was nobody. It was fine.
Oh. Congratulations. How'd you guys do? How'd you guys manage it as New Yorkers?
And we early voted a week before the Saturday before a week and like 10 or 15 the very first day of early voting in New York. We waited in line, my husband and
waited?
I.
Yeah.
We had folding chairs and we waited and
How long did you wait?
About an hour.
That was, considering that, it wasn't bad.
And then that first day, because the first day, all the Democrats are coming out. It's like, we gotta do this now.
Yeah.
And before Trump stops it on the second day, right? And Hank, how did you do? How was your voting experience?
Very easy. I'm a Wisconsin voter. So I voted by mail. Wisconsin, even though it's been ransacked by Scott Walker's zombie Republicans in the state Senate.
Another person I hate more than Trump, but yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty dreadful. But the Wisconsin ballots, the one vestige of Wisconsin's leader as a progressive state, all the absentee ballots are post-paid. The state still sees that as part of so I voted there. Wisconsin needed my vote more than New York did.
That's allowed, right? Because you have a Wisconsin residence, I assume.
With primary residence,
That's all that
auto
counts.
registration. I think that counts.
I was concerned because my primary residence is the one I sold in March. And so I changed the address online, and they did send me, but the ballot they sent me had the old address on it.
Ooh.
So when I brought the mail-in ballot, before I sealed it, I asked everybody, is this legit? They all said yes. I'm sure they didn't know what they were talking about. It probably didn't count, but in New York, it doesn't count anyway. But what I did was I voted on the working families because
Wow.
no, I'll tell you why. It's the same exact candidates. They were the Democratic candidates, but if they don't get enough,
Right. They're not entitled to
they will be taken off the ballot next year. And I feel they have the right to be on the ballot. That's the American way. So that's what I do. That's the kind of independent I am.
Uh-huh.
Did anybody vote for Kanye? By the way, any Kanye voters? Just
No.
No.
I only became a Democrat on the ballot because you can't. There are no independent primaries. I didn't know that when I started with this.
I don't even remember seeing Kanye's name on the ballot.
What was on?
No, it was not on our ballot.
It wasn't on all of
It was
them.
only in several states.
Yeah. He didn't do his paperwork until hours before the deadline. So,
But he took 60,000 votes away from somebody.
Well,
Probably Trump.
maybe from
so I
Trump.
don't believe
Together
it.
across the country.
Yeah. And there was also someone there named Princess Jasmine Hiawatha something was running. And there was like literally 30 people on the ballot for president, at least on the Colorado ballot. Who are these?
Oh, you did the Colorado ballot.
Not in New York.
It was quite amazing. But anyway,
is the Colorado ballot made out of rolling paper?
Soon the New Jersey ballots will be.
Henry, they're not only rolling paper, they're infused. Once you vote, you can roll them and just smoke them the way they are.
I get infused, then I get confused. So it's totally got that.
It's why I stopped. I was smoking till about 10, 12 years ago. And I started to get confused and I thought, nah, that's not good.
Oh, I thought are you going to get us show us the
I
ballot?
thought I had a copy of the ballot, but I don't have it handy. But
his ballot. Oh,
yeah. But ladies and gentlemen,
you didn't have to send it in.
No, I did. I absolutely, and I had to pay like 50 or I don't know what a postage stamp is these days because they're all like forevers. But I had to pay. Unlike Wisconsin fella here, I had to cough up like 2.
I think it's 55 cents. I checked. I checked it online. I think it's.
That's
I know.
highway robbery. 55 cents.
It's still cheaper than most European countries.
Oh, is it?
For a stamp, it's always been cheaper.
Yeah, but that's why America's better.
Well, that's why the post office is going out of business.
It's going out of business because the Republicans forced them to pay ahead billions of dollars
into the retirement fund. Yeah.
What is that about?
Henry, it was already having problems before this in the Obama administration.
That's without hobbling it with unbelievable.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I've been hearing about that. Yeah.
I agree, but one of the reasons is that the postage stamp has been kept at a reasonable rate. If you go to FedEx, you pay $20 to send something.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
So it's never been fair, and I'm perfectly happy to pay a little more for a postage stamp and keep the post office.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a very important.
Yes.
I'm Jewish. I'm email free. I kind of like that. I like that idea a lot.
I want to get voting by email, and I'm going to get all my friends who are illegal immigrants, and I'm going to let them vote.
Well, then we'd be hacked by the Russians.
Yeah, exactly. And the Chinese.
Like, oh, then we'd be hacked by the Russians. Thank you.
Well, the Russians haven't directly hacked the voting. They've hacked other things.
Yeah.
Want to bet?
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's what we're hearing.
We don't know, but you want to bet?
I don't think the vote has been
You're
hacked.
saying that they,
It's,
Leslie, that
it's
they
me.
are?
It's me of little faith. I do not believe any. I believe every, not conspiracy theory, but I definitely believe that if the Russians and the Iranians and the other people are out there, they've already hacked us.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
I
I don't know where that sentence went wrong, but
I'm keeping my eye on the Danish, essentially. I don't
I had one for breakfast.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're on a roll.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You could put the potato on and it would look like a roll.
No. Excuse me. What did you say about potato?
I said it could look like a roll.
Oh,
That's right.
A potato
Now listen,
hole.
what did you do to the Shubes? How do you pronounce their name?
I haven't. Well, I mean, we've been in touch, but they've been kind of busy with other things, and you guys have been such great guests.
Oh,
we've
we're better
been
than the
with.
Shubes, David. Remember that if they ever come on.
But they're certainly invited back. But we've just had such a nice thing going forward with David Sheward, who is holding up his gnome, and Leslie Hoban Blake with her hats and her button and her monkey. Me with my potato, and our very, very special guest, Henry Sapoznik.
Oh, do I have to hold a fetish object? Do I need a fetish? I'll go get a fetish object.
Go get a fetish.
Okay.
Go get your talisman.
Actually,
Okay,
By the way, this is a copy of the first monkey that was made by the Stife Company. It was a 100th anniversary. I don't know how old it is now. I've had it for 25 years, so
And
he's really old.
And this is a little figure from the Fractured Fairy Tales in Rocky and
Oh,
Bullwinkle.
yeah.
Oh my God!
Very cool. Edward
I
Everett
can't really
Horton.
make it out, but okay. If you,
Yeah.
I see the little star.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's
Have you had it all these years?
Just
David,
I mean, not since the original run of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but recently. I've had it a few years, and my favorite Fractured Fairy Tale was the one with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, where she says she's going to start a line of giants, but I had to cut it out. Too much overhead.
Good puns.
I directed a play by a really crazy playwright. We called it not Fractured Fairy Tales, but Twice Told Tales, and we had Sleeping Beauty and the Beast. That was one of our stories. But they were adults. It was a girl who looked like Cinder. She looked like Snow White, but she was playing Sleeping Beauty. I mean, it was crazy. And the Beast was a guy with that, and what happens is she goes to sleep, he kisses her, the mask comes off, and she wakes up. But it was very cleverly done. It was very adult and very clever. I'm sorry, it was really cute.
Jeffrey Epstein or something like that, or no, it wasn't that kind of fractured. It wasn't that.
It was for Circle Rep Lab, and it was very, very clever.
Now, before we get to, we're going to do a game here, but Hank, did you get a talisman? Did you get a special thing to hold up, or were you just getting a?
Oh, let's do that. Hold on.
Yes, hold up.
This is actual
WEVD.
Yeah, this is an M44 Shure microphone from 1936. When I worked at the station, I rescued some of these things that they were throwing out. I rescued 2 microphones and got it restored. And now I use this same microphone for recording podcasts. So there's tons of, you heard of Mojo? This is Moju. This microphone is full of Moju.
That sounds
Henry,
weird.
What WEVD? It sounds so familiar to me. What
It was for many years. It was the Yiddish station.
It was the station of the Socialist Party. The American Socialist Party, founded in 1927 to honor Eugene V. Debs, who was
my grandfather belonged to it. I know all about that. My grandfather belonged.
So that's what didn't become a Jewish station until some years later, but it's So
but
anyway,
it was around. I mean, the call letters sounded.
the call letters were gone. They sold the station in 2002 for the 3rd time. These actually, it's an amazing story. I don't want to take up. I get.
But when did
I
the
have a
call
whole
letters
series
stop?
of rabbit
When did
holes.
they stop having the call letters? Because I remember the call letters.
2002.
Okay, all right. I mean, it wasn't like 1922 or something.
No. It lasted. It lasted from 27 to 2002. It was a pretty good run. So.
And that
Anyway.
microphone actually has Barton Brothers spit on it. It's a very beautiful thing. It's,
No, but the ad, the commercial for Joe and Paul, which was recorded at WEVD. That's probably some of the spit. I have to check the DNA, or as we say in the Yiddish world, DNA, and I'll find out.
Hank, you would be, I mean, this is true, and then I promise we'll get to the quiz, but my mom actually had on a 45 on red vinyl of the Barton Brothers song Surus. And we actually physically had somewhere downstairs in our basement gathering mold. And I used to listen to it all the time. It was, I saw this.
Who were the sisters who sang by Mir Vista Shane? They sang that on that.
Those were the
Andrews
Daverhood sisters versus the Barton Brothers.
Yeah,
So,
Barton Brothers,
I
Andrews
just knew they were-
sisters. What's the difference? They're all the same.
but anyway, we have in our community of brotherhood post-election here, we've got Henry Sapoznik, the musician musicologist. We've got David Sheward, the theater critic, and of course the lovely Leslie Hoban Blake, theater critic and theater director. So they're all, and thank you all for coming, and sorry about the delays and stuff, for coming to play the Today, Yesterday quiz that we do on Dave's Gone By. It's a pretty simple affair. So what will happen is I'm going to ask each of you to pick a number between 2 and 12. And just shout up anytime.
I'll say 11.
I'm going to go with my 6. I always stick with that.
9.
And Henry has 9. So I'm going to digitally, because the only way I can do this here, roll a die. And we come up with 2. So who is the closest to 2? It's going to be Leslie. Leslie is going to do you want to start first, or do you?
I'd like to start first, yes.
Leslie will get the first question of the, how many questions we have? 10 questions and a tiebreaker for you guys. And, let me read the rules. So all questions are 2 points, okay? We got 3 teams, and you're all essentially teams here. 9 questions plus a tiebreaker. Each question worth 2 points for a right answer. Wrong answer, you don't get penalized, but then we roll a die to see who gets to maybe steal the question and answer it if you get the question wrong. So the other thing that I need to do is, or just let you know that Leslie is number 1 and number 2. David is number 3 and 4. And Henry is 5 or 6. That may come up when you try to steal a question.
3 or 4, okay.
You're 3 or 4, David.
Okay.
Leslie's 1 or 2. Henry is 5 or 6, okay? So, so Leslie gets to answer the first question. I'm going to roll the dice again to see who gets to answer the second question, and then we can go right
I'm
there.
starting to salivate for that Dr. Brown's behind you.
I know.
If I say something, you're going to put on a Dr. Brown's outfit?
I forgot to bring up the Fox's You Bet, but there you go. Now,
where's the celery? If you're going to have Dr. Brown's, go the distance.
No, I always like the vanilla. For me, it was always the cream.
Okay, yeah. Something about the cream, but celery is the most ridiculous. Who thinks of making a soda out of celery?
Jews. Who else would do that?
Yeah. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Just our people.
It's like asparagus cola. It's like, who
Exactly.
Anyway, by the way, I rolled a 3, which means that that the second closest is David. I'm sorry, it's Henry. Henry picked 9.
Yes.
Right. So
I'm
Henry
clear.
gets the second question, and David
goes
gets
like
the
this.
third. And then we go in that order. So it's going to be
clockwise.
Yeah, it's Leslie, Henry, and David. Here we go. Leslie, are you ready for our very first question of our Today, Yesterday quiz?
As much as I'm going to be.
We've been writing this for like a half hour, but now we actually begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the year is 1800. A law was passed in France today, making it illegal for women in Paris to do what? It's a multiple choice. And the choices are: wear trousers, not wear a hat, ride a bicycle at night, ride a streetcar at night. Okay, so take your time. We also have folks watching and cogitating at home on delay. So the year was 1800. A law was passed in France today, back on November 7th, 1800, making it illegal for women in Paris to do what? Wear trousers, not wear a hat, ride a bicycle at night, ride a streetcar at night. So, Leslie, the question goes to you.
I know it has. I keep thinking it has to do with George Sand. It had to do with trousers. I'm not sure if it's. I don't remember if George Sand was 1800 or not. But she sashayed around in trousers, and the law was either before or after. She was either breaking the law or they made the law because she was doing it. I don't recall which. But trousers, pants.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. It's either that or hijab. That was the other thing that they made a law about. But,
Well, Leslie, it's a pair of pants. Well done. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's an old Alan Sherman joke. But
Really?
yes, well done.
How about that?
Yeah, Leslie,
I
you
wouldn't
get
guess
2
that.
points on well
I thought it would be later.
No, 1800 was the year. It was just it was.
I'm just trying to figure out where George Sand fits in.
I think
So it wasn't even a George. It wasn't a George Sand thing, as far as I know. It had to do
later.
With
That's what I thought. That's why I said I didn't know she was before or after. That was where I got.
It has in France anyway. It had to do with during the Revolution, the sans culotte, who were without pants. So pants were very politically charged in France.
Revolutionary, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It also had to do with them not wanting women taking men's jobs. That was really one of the. No, that is not a joke.
No. Well, that's it's the same the whole world over. They say.
But well done, Leslie. Leslie, you now have a 2-0 lead over our two other contestants, who are, of course, Henry Sapoznik and David Sheward. So, Henry, you go next. You are, or as Rabbi Sol would call it, Chaim.
Yeah, both of us, yes.
You get the next question.
Explain to him about if you don't, and I'm sure you will get it, but if you don't get it, that David and I could steal.
Yeah, not David, me, but that David or Leslie. Yes. If you get the answer wrong, they get a chance to answer the question after you do. And
I didn't hear that part when you were going through the rules.
Okay. So the year 1820, right? The 5th president of the United States, a founding father, was reelected today. The only president besides George Washington to run unopposed. Name this proud Virginian. So you can take a moment or two, and I will read the question again if you need me to. I'll also hold up our very expensive prop for the show as we ask our questions. Look at this. It's R&D for years to make this. 1820 was the year. The 5th president of the United States, so founding father, was re-elected today, and the only president besides George Washington to run unopposed. Name this proud Virginian.
Oh, it's was it, I think it was John Quincy Adams.
Is that going to be your?
That is the.
Yeah, I can't hint or tell you.
No. I'm not asking. I'm throwing myself on. Well, there you've got the. Yes, I'm going to say John Quincy Adams.
Oh, Mr. Adams, dear Mr. Adams, I'm afraid that is incorrect. No, that is not.
You got a new one. You got a new diggy thingy. You got a new xylophone.
That's rather personal.
It's the same one. It
just sounded like it wasn't broken anymore.
Maybe fix it.
What I need to do now is roll the dice. Here we go.
Is it Lin-Manuel Noriega?
That's not the answer. We got a 5, which puts it at.
I think that's
Henry's.
That's Henry.
I just rolled a 2, so Leslie, that's you.
Wow.
You get to steal this question. 5th president of the United States, founding father, reelected today, proud son of Virginia.
I'm probably going to blow it the same way Henry did, but I'm going to say Thomas Jefferson.
Speaking of Hamilton, I'm afraid you did blow it, Leslie Hoban Blake. No, that is not.
Okay, David, it's yours.
Okay. Can I
walk away with it? We've eliminated all the others, so you really
Yeah,
don't have too
all
much to-
43.
Yeah.
My answer is James Monroe.
Why do you say James Monroe?
Because it was Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, then John Quincy Adams. Madison was the fourth president. Monroe was the fifth.
But if he was reelected, it would be the same guy. So
We're saying that's not what the question. You said the fifth president, so it's Monroe.
And it is indeed Monroe. Well done,
Yay.
David Sheward. He gets 2 points on that. And by the way,
Who was not in Hamilton?
no,
He had a lousy agent.
Yeah,
By
James
choice.
Madison.
by
Jefferson
choice,
and
he said, "I'm not touching that."
Jefferson, Madison, Washington, Jefferson, and Madison are all in Hamilton, but not Monroe.
I honestly didn't know.
And John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams is in Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, who was president number 7.
This man knows his theater. Let me
Oh,
tell
now
you.
he's just showing off.
And the Adams Chronicles. They were all in the Adams Chronicles.
Not in the Adams family.
No,
What?
certainly
Not in the
not.
Adams family, no.
No.
Was that the one with what's his? Oh golly, the character actor. What is his name? Oh,
George Broussard,
oh no, I was thinking of the other guy. Never mind.
William
John
Daniels.
Adams.
Oh, Bill Daniels was, yeah. No, but
There
this
was
is
an
interesting.
HBO John Adams.
When
That was Giamatti.
Giamatti. That's what I
Paul
put.
Giamatti.
Thank you.
when James Monroe ran for re-election, this is also absolutely true. Just a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
Even though he was unopposed, one person did not vote for him because essentially not because he disliked Monroe, but he said, you know what? In this country's history, the only president who should be unopposed is Washington. And I'm like, Washington.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's a neat story.
And who
I
was
would
it?
have liked that guy. There's a contrarian for you, right?
I'm telling you.
Do we know who it was who said that?
I'm sorry. Oh, do you, Jabe? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm
Oh, I
asking.
don't remember. I didn't take that part down.
Is that for real or is that apocryphal?
I believe it's for real. I believe there
Wow.
was one vote that
Okay.
did not go to James
It's
Monroe.
a great story.
Yeah.
All right.
I can see the movie now.
Yeah, it is nice. All right, we've got a 2-2 tie between Leslie Van Blake and David
No,
Sheward.
don't do it. Don't say it, David. Don't.
Well, I'm just
Say
too
what?
much.
Never mind. Say what?
Anyway.
Because he will put one on. Don't do it.
Yeah.
No.
I get you. All right. Our next question does go now to David Sheward because he gets to answer again because we're going in order.
Okay.
So here you go. You can actually get 2 more points. And
Oh, now I can see it. Yes. Adorable.
magic to
Adorable.
do this next question. 1848 is the year, and we're doing a few more political questions than usual for obvious reasons. 1848 is the year. The 12th president of the United States.
Oh.
He lasted only 16 months in office before dying of a stomach ailment. His vice president, Millard Fillmore, took over for whom?
All right, let's see. Millard Fillmore was the 13th president. All right, let's figure this out. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren. Okay, it's not William Henry Harrison, who I think was number 10 and died of pneumonia. His successor was Tyler, so that would be 11. So who came after Tyler? And then Millard Fillmore came after him, who I believe was in that movie about the slave ship, Amistad, played by Nigel Hawthorne. But it was his predecessor.
Henry, we know all our history from movies. I'm just bringing
the movies,
you
yeah.
up to speed. I'm just bringing you up to
Really
speed.
true.
So
All right, so Millard Fillmore. What's Zachary Taylor? I'm going to guess.
But is that your final?
Zachary Taylor.
Zachary Taylor is correct. Well done.
that was amazing, David. He should
You
get an extra
memorized
point
all
for
those
that.
things when you were a kid. You never thought it would come in handy.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I don't. Did you ever see that episode of The Simpsons where Lisa's school is putting on a pageant and they say, "We are the caretaker presidents"?
Oh no, I don't know that one.
Nothing
That's funny.
distinguished happened to us. Everybody's
That's
forgotten
one of them.
us.
James Knox Polk is in that one, right? I always loved him, James Knox Polk.
Oh yeah, James Polk. Yes.
All
James
right.
Knox Polk, excuse me. James Knox Polk.
No, James K.
So,
Polk.
we are ready to polka here as we continue our today. Yes, we don't even go with that bad joke. We have a 4-2 lead from David Sheward.
Sorry, I'm doing the joke in my head. I'm sorry, David.
Oh, sure. Our next question, though, will go to, so let's see, we've got David. Leslie goes next. This question will go to you, Leslie. On November 7th, 1904.
So he has 4 points now. I have to really get
wait a
sharp
minute.
now,
I'm
right?
hearing people yelling in the streets. Maybe they called it for Biden.
Wow, we can do history right here.
Right here, live
there are
on.
people, there are horns honking.
Wow.
Maybe that's why we
Pennsylvania must have come in.
Let me see. What's the noise? What's the noise? Biden wins.
No? It says that?
It's
Wow.
CNN. CNN has called it. There's honking in the streets.
Check
Biden
Fox
becomes
News,
the
make
next
sure everybody's
president.
called it. Or check out
Talking about.
something besides CNN or
It's on,
NBC.
it's on CNN.
How about CBS News or one of the other?
Let me see. Let me go. There's all
CNN.
this noise. Wow. Let me go to Fox News and see what they say.
Oh, I love watching
They'll say
them.
Trump is still ahead.
David,
No.
do it as the waitress. Do it as the waitress.
No, Fox is saying all eyes on battleground states, as Fox News is not calling it.
Maybe it's just a traffic jam, David.
No, it's people celebrating.
No, it happened.
When it happens,
Philadelphia was coming in this morning, and that's where
Mine
the bulk of
says,
it-
how about Trump for mayor of New York? I don't know what that is.
Oh my God.
No, he should be
No, it
mayor.
wasn't I didn't say it.
Okay, MSN. Okay, MSNBC. Joe Biden defeats Donald Trump to win the White House. NBC News projects.
Well, David, you have to do this in your waitress voice. I'm sorry, my wife is demanding this.
Joe Biden defeats Donald Trump to win the White House. NBC News projects.
With the White House.
He gets a free plate of Spam and some bangers and mash.
It's okay. I got it. Can you see it? It's here. I got it. There it is. Red, white, blue.
Boris Johnson. And we don't want nothing from that Boris Johnson bloke.
I am hoping that Trump is eating his liver at the moment.
Oh, he's dying.
Without ketchup, without onions.
He's
Just
not
I
going
want
to
him to eat
accept
his
it
liver.
until the court cases are done. You know that.
Doesn't mean he's not going to get. It doesn't mean the bile is not flowing through his body.
Oh,
Whether he accepts it or not, his body will still have that I lost thing going on. I love the
know,
idea.
and losers are the worst.
I
thing.
want him to suffer.
Nothing worse than losers. That's why you
Suffer. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a grand moment.
well, this is weird. This is very
We'll
strange.
always remember where we were when we
Yes.
heard
Yes.
this idea.
On TV. Right.
We were on this website talking about Zachary Taylor.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And who was
What's
playing
awful
Michael
is
Moore.
what's awful is this stupid election was between two old white men.
Yeah.
Well,
It makes it so boring.
well, what's
You know,
interesting?
other than the fact that it was Trump actually it was a white man and an orange man, so that
Well, well, the interesting observation that my husband made the other night was that no other Democrat would have won, and if it weren't for the COVID pandemic, Trump probably would have been reelected.
Biden wouldn't have won. Of course not. Of course not.
And any other candidate would not have been palatable to the moderate middle.
I just think we should all do a minute of silence and pray that there is not going to be violence. That's what I'm concerned about now.
Well,
I pray for
I hope
violence.
so. I hope so.
It's exciting. As long as I'm in my house, let them, let them riot. It's fine.
Well,
It'll be a happy riot. This is it won't be-
No, I mean rioting with guns and fire and that kind of
You're
riot.
talking about the right wing rioting. I didn't.
Yes, that's the violence I'm talking about. Yes,
Which,
that's the violence.
They can protest all they want. That's fine, as long as they're peaceful and don't hurt anybody.
They've been going all through Georgia with guns, and Arizona they brought guns, and they got stopped. There was a truckload of right wingers trying to get through to the whatever the court, the place they were.
And somebody, I heard that somebody in Philadelphia was arrested who was coming to a polling place who had a gun and was delivering false ballots.
Yes, I heard that too. Of course, I don't know what to believe anymore when you get hear a story like that. I'd love it to be true, but you don't know.
No, but it's that feeling like what I was a day or two after after I voted. Like this already a week ago, before the actual election, because I'm in Colorado, I was able to vote early, and went shopping. I was loading up the car with the groceries, and like there's this guy, Long Island guy, white guy in a car. He's driving by for no particular reason, and we don't know the man. He's like Trump, honking. I'm like, and I don't know why, but I'm considering the fact that I usually defend Trump on here. I was like Biden, and then he starts like going into a big, tirade about me, which I can barely hear because I'm deaf in this ear, and he's already like halfway down in his car about to turn down the thing. But I'm like, oh, so this is the American white Trump, cracker red. I'm certainly not a redneck. This Northeast New York low class voter. I was just like, whoa, this is what.
Let me also say that not every single person who is a votes for Trump or is a Trump supporter, not every single one is an extreme nutbag. Because it's like
moderate nutbag. No, I mean,
no. Maybe a mixed nutbag, maybe a few cashews in there. Because it's like 7 million people. So I don't
7-0, yeah.
Yeah, 7 million people, around 7 million.
Wait,
70. I'm sorry.
No,
you're right.
it was 70.
70.
If only it were just 7 million, it would be
1,
such
2,
a blessing.
3, 4, 5 zeros preceded by a 7.
But David, it's almost like what they used to say about homosexuals, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be some Trump voters in every family.
Oh, sure.
Where
gay Trump voters.
I lost you guys. What did I do?
No,
we see you.
You're okay. She lost
I
us.
can't see you. I can hear you. I can't see you.
Oh,
the whole thing went off my
I'm
screen.
not
I don't know.
look at Leslie. It's fine. It's you're not missing.
Yeah, we see you.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll try not to pick my nose because I see that you're.
Pick someone else's nose.
Like who was it? Who was it that got fired from the New Yorker?
Yes.
Jeffrey
yes. Well, I'm riding my bicycle, so I don't know what happened to my picture.
Oh, that's rather personal.
Well, you see, Leslie's riding her bicycle, and that's why she's so well spoke.
Oh, is that what you call it?
I'm sorry.
Oh, guys, come on! This is not fair. I can't see you at all.
He's holding up the fractured fairy.
The fairy godmother here.
Oh, the fairy godmother said that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Whose turn is it?
Doesn't matter.
I believe it's your turn. I believe it's.
And David has 4 points. Wait a minute. And David has 4 points.
David has 4 points. You have 2 points. Henry.
Okay. I'm getting into my competitive mode now since I can't see you or anything.
That was so weird. What just happened? That was so weird.
Well, and we all. I mean, this is so great. This is live.
An historic moment.
We can show our grandkids. Not that I'll have any, but I'm saying this is that
Are you
moment.
taping this?
What?
Are you taping? Are you recording this?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
We've ever done
Oh,
this.
it will be on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube.
Yes,
definitely.
put this on YouTube.
It is. All the shows you guys have been on. It's been on
okay.
YouTube,
Great.
on davesgoneby.com. It's archived on Facebook as well.
That's great. You caught the historic moment.
Yeah. I actually. Yeah,
David, your show. David, the show that you're shooting now that's live, that's on Facebook, right?
Are you talking to David Sheward or Dave me?
I'm talking to Dave. Dave's gone by.
What do you mean the show that I'm shooting now?
The show that, as you're recording it now live, it's going out on Facebook, right?
We're live on Facebook.
But
okay, that's the answer to that question that you asked me once about why I never got on early enough to see the show, because I do watch it on YouTube, is that I don't have Facebook.
Really?
Oh, so you're just coming
I
on
refuse.
YouTube. Oh.
I categorically refuse to be on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. That's enough.
Oh, fair enough. Fair. But the whole point is, as I said, if you don't want to be on Facebook, you can watch the archives.
I came back.
On YouTube.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I figured it out.
Yay.
I figured it out.
Ding.
Ding. Okay.
All right. So, back to the quiz. I know it feels like so inconsequential.
Yes, today that we should.
Biden.
I think I should go get some champagne, but you guys, oh, I love Ducky. Oh.
Oh, that's just a
That's
white.
Mallard Fillmore.
Mallard
Oh.
Fillmore. You know, that was actually a comic strip in the New York Post.
Yeah,
Mallard,
and a right-wing
Yeah,
comic.
a
it
right-wing
was.
comic strip.
It
Yeah.
was.
I was
That's
feeding
when the New York Post
ducks.
was readable.
I was feeding ducks that look exactly like that on the river in the spring. When I finally felt brave enough to go out, I would walk up and down I live on 42nd and 12th. I'd go down to 34th and come back, and there were ducks and geese all over the river. And I would bring breadcrumbs and feed them, and they looked just like that, or they were gray.
You figure to find ducks, you have to go downtown, or find them on the web. But
Oh, I get it.
Ooh,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
That's quick. I gotta say that's
my
quick.
bill.
That's-
This is,
Oh, I have a tale to tell. But
Yeah.
oh,
okay,
dear.
all right.
This is as good as
Leslie, I have a
match
question.
game. This is like
Oh,
match
get a
game
gander
volume
on that
two.
one. Okay, never
Oh,
mind.
oh, very good, very good. I can make a goose joke, but I'm being clean. We're
Well,
doing
I didn't know it, but the geese and the ducks hang out together. They really do.
Oh,
They
really?
were all in
They
the river.
swan
Then
about or what? No, I'm sorry.
I can't do it. It's Saturday morning. I try as hard as I try, and I drink caffeine, and it doesn't.
People are
We should
still
be
cheering
drinking
in
champagne.
New York.
I should break open a bottle of champagne.
Actually,
whatever.
let's be quiet for. I'm the worst at it, but let's be quiet for a moment and see if we can hear what's going on outside David's window or
It's
all of
very
yours.
faint. It's very faint, but I can hear. You can't hear it now, but it was still yelling in the streets.
All right. Well, we're yelling here in our today yesterday quiz. Leslie, are you ready for a question?
Yes, I am.
In the news feed. Hold on. Here we go.
Yes, I am. No, I was just going to send my son a note. But go ahead.
Should we table this and just talk for a couple more minutes?
Whatever. You're the host.
Well, no, it's up to you. Honestly, it's up to you. If you'd rather,
No, it's my
so-
turn. I want to get my question.
Well,
He's
Leslie,
got
very
4 points.
competitive.
I've only got 2. I get very
1904.
competitive.
Leslie, 1904 was the year, November 7th. And right up your alley, a new Broadway musical opens tonight at the Liberty Theater on 1904. It's about an American jockey who goes to ride in the English Derby. For 1 point, name the show, and for the second point, name its author and star. So, I see our two theater mavens nodding.
Oh, we both know the movie, right, David?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
He wasn't giving away. 1904 was the year. New Broadway musical opens at the Liberty Theater about an American jockey who goes to ride in the English Derby. For 1 point, name the show. For the second point, who wrote it and starred.
And if I can name the jockey, can I get a 3rd point?
Name the jockey. I maybe because I won't know if you're correct. So
David will know if I'm
David will
correct.
know.
Henry will know if I'm correct, right?
Go
and
ahead.
do you agree to give her a half point if she gets the third part right?
Well, it depends on the answer. There's a trick here. It depends on the answer.
All right. Let's go down, Blake. Can you answer that question of the show and the writer and star?
The writer is George M. Cohan. The jockey is Johnny Johnson. Now, the name of the show. It was not Yankee Doodle Dandy. That was the name of the movie.
Right. Oops.
Aha, I see what you mean about the trick. I thought I had it for a second. I'm not sure. Was the show called Johnny Johnson? Probably not. I don't know. Wait. I'm sorry, my machine is doing that again about.
We see you.
No cheating.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks. That's what I was doing, right? If I were fast enough to cheat. I see what you mean about the trick. Yeah. What was the name of the? I was so sure I knew it. Shoot.
No, don't tell them to shoot. The Trump supporters will.
I know.
Come up with
Johnny
something.
Johnson is the only thing that comes to me, and I don't think that was the name of the show. I don't know.
Leslie Hoban Blake, you do get 1 point. Okay, you do get 1 point for that answer, but obviously the second point, that is going to go to one of our other contestants. Let me again get to my roll a die thing, which I have to find here. Where is it? Here it is. I'm going to roll. No. Okay. And it comes up with a 4. So number 4 is
Henri.
Okay, that's me, right?
No,
Oh no, or is it Henry?
that's Henri. You
Oh,
used to be 4. Now he's 4.
So Henry, you have a chance to steal 1 point.
Wait,
from
aren't I
this
3 or
question.
aren't I 3 or 4? What am I?
Or I think we made David 5 or 6. I'm sorry, Henry is 5 or 6. So
I'm
it is
3 or
David
4.
Sheward.
Oh, it's
Okay.
David. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to get clobbered.
All right. The show was called Little Johnny Jones, which is the name of the
That was
jockey. Johnny Johnson was a musical by Kurt Weill, which I think the group theater
Which
did.
I actually saw, not originally, but I did see it. It was okay. Yes, you're right. Johnny Jones. Okay, totally screwed up.
And by the way, yes, David, you are absolutely correct. So Leslie, you got George M. Cohan right, and David, it was Little Johnny Jones was the answer of the
Right,
musical.
right,
And Henry,
right.
did you know that one? You were nodding on this one. Did you? Your musicology goes back to the Cohan era. I guess it does.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Yeah. I mean, how many times can you see Yankee Doodle Dandy and not learn?
I got it. Well, I got it wrong, and I've seen it 100 times. So
But they even staged that.
I know. I had him
production
doing
of
that
it,
little hippie hop dance in my head when I said that.
Yeah.
So after Leslie's question, it does go to Henry. Henry gets the next.
But I'm going to protect my goose egg here. Come on.
Well,
That's a lovely image.
Yeah.
As a musical person, you might.
Yeah.
You might
Give
have
him your
tried this.
jock. He can use. Yes, he can use it.
Stay away from my goose egg.
1912 was the year. All right. The Deutsche Oper Berlin opens tonight with a performance of a work from 100 years earlier, Leonore, or The Triumph of Marital Love. For 1 point, who composed it? And for the second, what is the opera's better known title?
Boy, as you know, this is slightly out of my wheelhouse. From the century before? You said.
I'll read the question again. Actually, 1912.
I'll be right back.
Oh, sure. 1912 was the year. The Deutsche Oper Berlin opens tonight, November 7th, with a performance of a work from 100 years earlier, Leonore, or The Triumph of Marital Love. For 1 point, who composed it? And for the second, what is the opera's better known title?
Well, I am at sea on this one. Let's see. And 1812, who was writing operas? Well, could be Wagner. I'm guessing Wagner. And the better known Leonore. No, nope, I actually don't.
Okay, all right. And I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Protected my goose egg. All right. That's it.
Yeah.
I am unbeaten.
You're beaten like the egg. Yeah,
I am unbeaten and beaten.
You beat the egg, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Beat
roll
the egg. That's right. I'm a bit scrambled, actually.
Oh,
So
hold on. So,
all right.
So here's my issue. We're going to give David a moment to finish up his, because I rolled the die and it
And
came
it's his,
up number
and he gets it.
Yeah.
Of course, it
Eyes
was
and dolls.
room. I'm going to shout for him. David, wipe and come back. Yeah.
Why don't you pretend it wasn't his and give it to me?
I
This is
don't.
ahead.
That's the spirit.
Okay.
Oh, good. So David,
Sorry to keep you waiting.
you get a chance to steal the question here.
Oh, okay.
The year was the year was 1912.
1912.
The
Okay.
Deutsche Oper Berlin opens tonight with a performance from a work from 100 years earlier, Leonore, or The
18.
Triumph of Marital Love. For 1 point, who composed it? And for
Leonore.
the second, what is the opera's better known title?
Okay, so this would be the early. So we're talking about an opera from 18. Well, when did the Deutsche Opera open?
1912.
Oh, so 1812, which is about the time of Beethoven. The only thing is, Beethoven only wrote one opera called Fidelio, which is it about marital love? I know it's about this woman who poses as a man and works in a prison or something like that in order to free her husband, who is a political prisoner. So maybe it's German. So I will say Beethoven and I'll say Fidelio.
Is that your final answer, though?
Yes.
You got it, Dave. You got it.
Oh my God.
The one opera I could have answered correctly.
Wow. Well done, Dave. Because the only giveaway there is you've heard of the Leonore Overture, and you knew that was Beethoven.
Oh.
But knowing that Fidelio was another name for Leonore, that's a little bit more.
But Fidelio also means faithful, which was what that whole thing was about.
Yes.
She was faithful to him, even unto prison. You know what's interesting about that?
Wasn't
The way I found out
think
about
it was
that.
the musical about the New York mayor.
That
would be
Fiorello.
Fiorello.
Yeah, it was Fiorello, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, all those.
Nice try.
those
It's not
parts,
nice try. I learned about
the new
that.
one, De
because-
Blasio.
Oh, no one's
I
going
learned about that because I stayed at a B&B kind of thing in London when I was at the Shakespeare Institute, and the people were Beethoven nuts. Their car was called Leonore, and they insisted on telling me why the car was called Leonore. And I don't know the opera, but they told me the story, and so that's how I knew it. It was like it's like the movies, only it was people instead.
Only it was real life.
It was real life.
You should know that Leslie has a story for every question. Something.
No, but
like-
I happen to know that opera. I don't know opera. You know, I know Carmen. You know, I mean, it's not the opera's not my thing. So.
There's a Carmen Gia, right? That's named after him.
Oh.
And the character in The Producers.
Ah,
Oh.
yes.
Roger
right.
Roger
Lord
DeBrise's
Carpet, yes. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're in our Today Yesterday quiz. By the way, David is kind of, well, not running away with it. No.
He's kind of running away with it.
Oh, excuse me. He has 7 points. Leslie has 3. And Hank, he's protecting.
I am protecting my goose egg. Hold up my goose. Sorry, I don't have one. Hold up.
No, I don't know.
Hold up your duck.
It's goose duck. That's what he was.
No, David gets a chance to build up.
Duck and cover, not goose and cover.
Yes.
David, who is leading by a lot, gets another shot to add some more points.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, the Joe Biden of
He is. He's coming up. So 19.
No, David always does very well on these.
Okay, go on.
1917 is the year. This left-wing political party took power in Russia after overthrowing the provisional government of Alexander Kerensky. Okay. So that is the question. It's 1917, November 7th.
Uh-huh.
Left-wing political party took power in Russia after overthrowing the provisional government of Alexander Kerensky.
Now, this may be a trick because if I say the Communist Party, maybe that's too obvious. Because they were communists, but the question is, were they Trotskyists or the Leninists? And what were they called?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were specifically called communists at that point. And I think at that point, well, Trotsky and Lenin were kind of allies at this point, but later they broke apart. And he went to Mexico, Trotsky, and got a nice pick in his head. Based on that play, based on that play by David Ives. Let me see. So let's see. I think it, well, if I say the communist, the Day of the Dead in Trotsky's house in Mexico. Probably Frida Kahlo made that. Did Frida Kahlo, is that based on something Frida Kahlo made?
No, it's just the Day of the Dead.
A Trotsky thing.
A diorama.
Yeah. Well, he and Frida were.
They had an affair, yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, name anybody and Frida had an affair with him or her.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say.
Cohen.
Yeah, yes. He went down to Mexico and
Manuel Noriega, right?
Yeah.
They all
Lindsey
have-
Graham. She
he was
very cool.
vacationing in Mexico for one day.
Yeah.
And she said,
Go
fresh.
ahead, David.
Right.
The communists.
And David Sheward.
Yeah.
That is technically not.
Okay,
Right.
I had a feeling. It's just, what were they called?
Well, we're going to see who
Okay.
gets to maybe steal this question. I've got Leslie. Again, you got a number 2. This one goes to you.
Oh, because my father would turn over in his little urn if I didn't know the answer to this, because they were there. My uncle was alive at that point.
Oh.
Can you check a
escaped.
story? Yeah. Mhm.
And my uncle taught this history, and he taught it from first person, although he was only, a boy. Okay, they were the Bolsheviks, I believe. Was their
Oh.
correct name.
Yeah.
And was there a second part to the question, or was it just?
No,
was that
no,
the
you
whole
got it.
question?
It was
okay.
founded by Lenin and Alexander Bogdanov, but they were, in fact, the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks.
Oh, the
So
Bolsheviks.
well done, Leslie.
They had a wonderful ballet, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Bolshevik ballet, wasn't that?
It was a
that-
Jewish
maybe
ballet. It
that
was
was-
Bolshoi.
Oh, there-
yeah.
yeah.
He's trying, and I thought that was a really good try. Don't do that.
If I'm not going to win any points, I'm going to make all the worst jokes. So thank you.
Well, then
their
you
version.
take that away from Dave, you see. It's usually
Yeah.
Dave who does that.
I'm more than happy to cede the joke telling. By the way,
Yeah.
I do want to, speaking of telling, I want to tell everybody you're watching Dave's Gone By. With me, Dave Lefkowitz, we're doing our Today, Yesterday quiz. It is November 7th, 2020. And with us in the Daverhood are Leslie Hoban Blake, theater critic and podcaster on Critics Circle, which is watchable on YouTube. Is it still on the Two on the Aisle channel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep telling him to take it off that, but
And then David Sheward, who writes for theaterlife.com and has the David Desk is his blog. And then there's one other place.
Culturalweekly.com.
Cultural, I never remember. I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
And Henry Sapoznik at henrysapoznik.com for all the stuff that he's done about Yiddish Radio, for all the CDs and the archiving that he's done. henrysapoznik.com. So we are in the midst of our Today, Yesterday quiz with David kind of really doing pretty well. He's got 7, but Leslie's got 5 now.
Ooh.
And let's see now. So that was a steal by.
I'm on your tail, David.
So
That's rather personal.
I'm on the duck's tail, David.
This
you
is
get to really-
my duck doing Swan Lake.
I got a monkey on my back,
Anyway, guess what,
Yes,
Leslie?
yes.
You can tie now. You can, if you get this question right, you will be tied.
Oh, this is my question.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like
oh, okay.
Am I right about this? Or is it Leslie? It's Leslie Hank.
No wonder they're having trouble counting ballots if you can't
Yeah.
even keep track of 6 points.
It's a good thing you're not in charge.
4 days
Henry,
later, we're still
Henry,
here
you can't even do it when
counting
it's just 2
points.
of us, okay?
I'm very sorry. What happened was I wrote down the names in one order for knowing when your initial die roll was, and then I wrote them down differently for the second thing. So was it Leslie Henry David was the actual order?
Yes,
that
it
we're
was.
in?
It was Leslie Henry David. Yes,
Leslie
because
Henry.
I
So
was
David
6 and he
goes-
was
So
9
it
and he
is
was
you
11.
anyway.
I love all of
I
his
remember
movies.
that.
Leslie Henry David.
It's Leslie who gets the next question. Yeah.
Yes, I get the next question.
So what am
I can make it a tie if I get it right.
Here we go.
What?
1921 is the year, Leslie.
My father had just arrived from Russia. Go ahead.
Oh, you'll get this. You'll get this. And actually, Hank would get this one. You will all get it.
No, I'm not going to get it because it's not for me. When it's for me, I won't get it. So
Right. After 2 Ziegfeld Follies and several other vaudeville and Broadway reviews, he became the perfect fool, writing and starring in this Broadway musical comedy opening tonight. Can you name this future radio and TV star?
I don't need to name the comedy, just the name of the guy.
Yeah, just the guy. So I'll read it again. 1921 was the year. After 2 Ziegfeld Follies and several other vaudeville and Broadway reviews, he became the perfect fool, writing and starring in that Broadway musical comedy opening tonight. Can you name this future radio and TV star?
Ready?
Leslie, can you?
I can't do it. I wish I could imitate him. Oh, Edwin, but I can't imitate him properly. But it was Edwin.
Was it?
And the answer?
Father of Keenan, grandfather of some girl who's acting now named Win. I forget her name, Maywin or some such thing.
Well, Leslie, you win because it was indeed Edwin. Well done,
Was
Leslie.
the name of the show The Perfect Fool? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that was the actual name of
I
the
see,
Broadway show.
okay.
And it
I
became
did not
sort
know
of
that.
nickname. Yeah, before he became the fire chief, that he was more
Right,
of
right.
yeah. And by the way, his
Well,
real
before he
name
was
was
on,
Isaiah.
I knew him from the Twilight Zone.
But do
He
you
was in the
guys know?
Twilight Zone.
Hank, I will give you a point if you. And I'm sorry, guys, but I will give you a point if you know how he picked his name.
Edwin.
Mm-hmm. How did he
Wasn't
get
his
that?
name?
Because he wasn't born
Wasn't
with
his
that
name? Wasn't his name Edwin?
Well, I cannot give Hank a point. So,
Oh, wait, this is for
Oh,
me?
the point was for Hank. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear that.
I was going to throw Hank a bone because I
I
thought
take that back. I have no idea. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, no point. Well, because I can't say it now. But the thing was, his born name was Isaiah Edwin Leopold. So his middle name was Edwin, and he turned that into Edwin.
Hank, please forgive me. I'm such a big mouth. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't fair of me. I was giving Hank a shot to get out.
Oh, no,
I was fine with
I
that.
don't
I
want
just
any,
thought you were throwing it
I
out
don't
for
want any
anybody.
extra shots. I already had my flu shot. So but Edwin, definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, so Hank, you having a chance now. Even though we couldn't give you that point, we can give you 2 points if you get this next question.
Come on, Hank. You can do it, Hank.
This my zero.
1944 was the year. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is reelected for his 4th term. Which of these, it's a multiple choice, is not true about FDR? Which is not true? He was distantly related to his wife, Eleanor. Recent studies say he didn't actually have polio. He was an avid coin collector. He chose the first woman ever to hold a cabinet post in American government. Okay, so I'll read the question again. The year was 1944. FDR reelected to his 4th term. Which of these is not true about FDR? He was distantly related to his wife, Eleanor. Recent studies say he did not actually have polio. He was an avid coin collector. He chose the first woman ever to hold a cabinet post in American government.
Monty, I'll take door number 2.
Which is that he
Which is that the recent studies have shown that he did not have polio. That is not true.
Phew. No, Hank, I'm sorry. That is not the correct answer. Oh, man. All right, I've got to roll the die.
Very excited.
The goose egg is pristine. Here we go. I'm going to roll that die. Come on. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry, David. Oh, no, wait, no. It goes to David. It's a 3 because Leslie keeps getting the ones and the 2. David, you have the chance to steal this question.
Okay.
Which of these is not true?
I believe it's not true that he was a coin collector because he was a stamp collector.
So is that what you're going to go with?
I'm going to go with it's not true that he was a coin collector because he was related to Eleanor and he did appoint the first woman to a cabinet position.
Well done, David. Yes, he was a philatelist. I'm sorry to say that word in company, but yes, he was. And the thing about the polio, recent studies are saying that he had Guillain-Barré syndrome. His symptoms were more consistent with that than with actual polio.
And I did not know that. I knew about the woman cabinet position, not from Annie.
Perkins.
How did you know?
PBS,
Not
from the
Annie,
Eleanor stories on PBS.
But I already knew that from before. And I knew about him being related to her from Sunrise at Campobello.
Yeah.
And
you didn't watch the Roosevelt series on PBS?
And the TV movie with Edward Herman and Jane Alexander.
I remember
but
that
PBS had documentaries
Yes, I saw that too.
on as well as all of those.
Yes.
Ralph Bellamy was a better FDR.
Yeah. Well, they were both good. They were both good.
That's right.
Now you guys are doing great. You're all doing really well. But here's what the the score is so far. We've got David Sheward with 9, Leslie Hoban Blake with 7. So Leslie, you're right up there, and you get the next question. So
No, David gets the next question.
Oh, that's right, I do, because I stole
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a steal. That was a steal. I can't follow these things. I'm sorry. David
I'm
stole
trying
that.
to keep it on the straight and narrow.
Oh,
Election
David,
fraud.
you get to almost run away with the game here. If you get
Election
this
fraud.
next
Don't try to steal the election from me.
one.
I'm the one who told him. I'm even helping here.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you, Leslie. Because Leslie, the thing about Leslie, she's competitive, but she wants the rules to be really rigidly followed and
That's
fair.
right, rigidly.
1969 is the year, David. 1969 is the year. Released today in England is the third in John and Yoko's experimental album trilogy. This one, celebrating their love, features a parody of Stan Freberg's John and Marcia on side 1 and excerpts of their Bed In on side 2. Name the disc.
Oh. Is it, well. Is it-
I'll read again if you want.
Okay.
The year was 1969. November 7th was the date. Released today in England is the third of John and Yoko's experimental album trilogy. This one, celebrating their love, features a parody of Stan Freberg's John and Marcia on side 1 and excerpts of their Bed In on side 2. Name that disc.
The thing that comes into my mind is Double Fantasy, and but that may be a Michael Jackson thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I always mix those two up too.
That's what comes into my mind. Yes.
5 and 1.
Yes, I know. We were on the air when it happened.
Someone stepped out of the Stone Age. 5 and 1. Yeah, we know. We know.
Well,
It's old news.
He had been on another conference call also
Yeah.
during this time, and I'm recording MSNBC.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'm probably wrong. I'm gonna say Double Fantasy.
No, I'm afraid not. That is
Okay.
not the correct answer, David
Okay.
Sheward. So
All right.
it's thrown open to the winner of the dice roll, or it's one die actually. And the number, the number is 5. So this means that, Hank, you have a chance to take this if you know the answer to the question. The John and Yoko album released today in 1967.
Ooh. No, I don't give peace a chance for I think 69.
That's what he said, 69.
No, you said 67.
He
Well,
said
he said
69.
69.
1969 was the year.
Oh, so I'll say give peace a chance.
All we are saying is Hank got it wrong. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Everybody got it right.
Stand back, everyone.
I'm
You're
sorry.
in the presence of greatness.
I'm sorry. The duck
Everybody
is
got it
sad.
right.
The duck is sad.
The duck is
I'm
bad.
the last one standing and I have no idea.
No
So
idea.
let's go on to my question, please.
Well, what's the answer?
We haven't got the answer.
Oh, what's the answer?
So nobody got the answer. It's a 0. I'll throw a hint out there. Cheech and Chong.
Up in smoke?
No, does that help? That help at
That's
all?
what I
Dave's not
would
here.
say, too.
Rolling
I think
paper?
we're-
I don't know. Sister Mary Elephant?
No. Both John. I mean, nobody gets points for this, but both Johnny Yoko and Cheech and Chong have an album by the same name.
Big
Don't know.
Bamboo? I don't
Don't know.
know.
No, it was called Wedding Album. That was the Wedding Album.
My
Okay.
sister would have known this. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, so everybody gets a 0 on that. That's okay.
Hey.
Now the next question. So nobody
Are we
stole that.
finished now? Did he win or do we have another round?
We have one more question in our thing, but it's David's kind of. Let's see. David has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Still has 9 points. Leslie has 7. So
Do I get another
this
question?
answers the question of who goes next. So that question was. So Leslie goes next. It's
Yeah, Leslie goes next.
Leslie will get this, as will.
Now, here's the thing. That means we have to go one more time all the way around.
All the way around, right?
Because this is
If I go.
Well, yeah.
How many questions did we do?
This is
okay.
Technically, David won. David won. So this is just for fun.
Oh, okay. All right. So then it doesn't matter. Okay.
Doesn't matter. But so I'll throw this open. 1991 was the year Israel Horovitz had only 2 plays on Broadway. 1968's Morning, Noon, and Night, and this 1991 comedy drama, which opened tonight and starred Jason Robards and Judith Ivey as a professor and his former student. Name that show. So I'll throw it to Leslie first, even though there's game's kind of over.
I interviewed Israel. I was down in his room, and I can see that there was a poster from the show, but I can't read the name of it.
Did he molest you, Les? And apparently he was
No, his wife was right upstairs, and I don't know that I was not a young girl. I mean, I was a grown woman, so should I feel insulted that he didn't? I don't know.
Well, you were.
How does that work?
You were over 18.
Yeah.
Right. Give me a second here. Let me.
Okay.
I was way over 18. I didn't start writing until way late. See.
Couple of.
I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Makes me angry when my mind won't give me things like this. Shit.
Well, the old age, Les. It's happening.
Tell me about it. The first play was called
Morning. I can read the question twice. Morning, Noon, and Night. Back in 1968.
Jason Robards, Judith Ivey. You don't need to read it again, but I just wanna. I can't come out. Don't have any idea.
Well, I'm going to throw it.
Don't have any idea.
But David, do you mind if I give this one a hanky just for fun?
Okay, and then give it to me. Go ahead.
Well, you give it to you now. I mean, I just, I don't.
Okay.
All right, David Sheward, then.
The play was called Park Your Car in Harvard Yard.
Oh, okay.
And Christopher Plummer did the voice of the radio.
Oh, I can remember that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that play.
Yeah, Joyce and I is saying that in the paper that we wrote for an academic journal, we actually used that play as an analysis of older people. So it's not a wonderful play, but it just fit our purposes. But anyway, so
you know that the poster in my mind in the room that I'm looking at just came into focus, and I can see that it says that.
Now I want to throw one more fast question to all of you, but especially Hank, and David will know this because he counts the presidents. 1874 is the year. A brave soldier and staunch abolitionist, this Republican president of the United States was elected today, but it was a battle as his opponent, Samuel J. Tilden, won the popular vote. Name this 19th head of state.
What was the year again?
1874.
I'm sorry, who is this for?
Anybody who wants
anybody besides David.
Want me to say it?
No, hold it for.
Let's see if anybody, because David, you're the presidential expert, seemingly. Yes. So let's wait on this. And
David, you have one of those little rulers in front of you that has all of the names of the presidents on it.
No.
I used to give those as presents to my kids in school when I was teaching.
Anybody want to take a stab?
He got stabbed also.
I think it was 1876, not 74, but.
I have 74. I could be.
Okay. Do you want me to say it?
Could be Grant. Grant.
We have a Grant.
I don't think he was an abolitionist.
That's later. That was earlier.
Well, he did free he had one slave, and he did free that slave.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Shall I say it?
Yeah.
Go say it.
Rutherford B. Hayes.
Hey Hayes. The rabbi's musical. There it is. It was in fact Rutherford B. Hayes was the name. So do you have them all memorized? Is that the deal, Dave? You can
not quite, but if I worked it out, I could figure it out. And that was
It'd be
from
the world's longest acronym, wouldn't it?
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The flop musical by Leonard Bernstein and Alan J. Lerner had a number for Rutherford for it was called Duet for One, with which Patricia Rutledge sang, in which she played both Julia Grant and Lucy Hayes.
Oh wow! I don't remember. Don't really know the show.
And she was nicknamed Lemonade Lucy because she refused to serve liquor in the White House.
Lots of fun, that girl. There we go.
Was Patricia Rutledge related to the Rutledge in 1776?
Their names are spelled differently.
Oh, okay.
I think. Maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
it was a legitimate question.
We do have
David it's a runaway for David. He got everything.
Not a runaway. No, David won. It was 2-4-6-9 to 7 over Leslie and
Oh, I thought you just got more. I thought he just got a point for knowing the 19.
He had already won. He stopped counting. Technically, yes.
Give him the point. It doesn't matter to me. I've already lost. What do I care?
No, I would like to thank Zachary Taylor and Rutherford B. Hayes and Mallard Fillmore.
And Mallard Fillmore. I love that. Listen, I didn't think to put my TV on to record anything, so I want to go back and see what's going on. So
of course,
I would love to hang with you guys, but I'm really now getting excited about this. So
let me thank you so much all for appearing in the Daverhood. Let me remind people one more time: we've had Leslie Hoban Blake in the Daverhood from Critics Circle. We've had David Sheward, whom you can read at thedaviddesk.com and also theaterlife.com. And also, what's that? Cultural something?
Cultural Weekly.
Cultural Week. Next week I may get it. Culturalweekly.com. And of course, Henry Sapoznik, the musician, the musicologist, the Yiddish Radio, Yiddish musical.
Just call me Zero. Just
okay.
Is that how Mastel got his name? He played.
That's how. Yeah,
that was how it happened.
Yeah, he was lousy at quizzes.
Well, you've all been wonderful just to hang with. And I appreciate so much for being in the Daverhood. Sorry, please.
Sorry. Did you both get the invitation to the trivia game Wednesday?
I saw it. Yes, I'll see. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'll let you know.
I understand, but if you are interested, it'll be a 10 to 8, and unfortunately, one cannot be late for that one because they're 8 or
what time is it?
Something. It's in the evening at 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I'll see if I can.
From 8 to 9.
All right.
So I'll have it. I'll have the link up by 7:50. I just wanted to remind you.
Henry's like, I was in.
Henry, do you want to go? Do you want to join another trivia thing?
Well,
it's more professional than this one.
I will have to send David. You'll have to send it to him because I don't have any of his information.
Hank, if you're interested, I will absolutely gladly say it was a lot of fun. We tried it last month, but for now, speaking of fun, it's been wonderful to have you. Go open the champagne. Go.
Historic moment.
Yeah, enjoy.
It is historic.
And thank you.
I got to see if my phone is breaking up on this or not.
Bye-bye.
This is really exciting. Okay, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Next week. We'll see you next week.
Lovely meeting you, Henry.
Yes, next week. Typical time, 10:45. Let's say, okay? And
all right.
we'll see you here.
10:45. But this was it 10:45 this week or was it 10:30 this week?
I should have put down 10:45. I'm not sure if I did.
Because I came late for 10:45. I was insanely late for 10:30.
I saw
it's not like I can slip in the back of the room and sit in a seat and nobody notices. I have to walk in front of the professor, as I get in. All right, I'm going.
Shameful. All right, I'm removing David Sheward. Bye-bye, Dave. Thanks so much. I'm removing.
Nice playing with you. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye, and bye.
I'm still here. I'm the one who wants to go. All right.
Thank you so much for being with me in the Neighborhood. And ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the 771st edition of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, on this kind of historic November 7th, 2020 is the episode that we're calling Suppository, because we've just had some wonderful fun with our guest Hank Sapoznik playing the Today Yesterday trivia game and also being interviewed by Rabbi Sol Solomon. And as we did mention, if you missed it, if we missed the beginning of the show, last week's show, the show from 5 years ago, 15 years ago, they're all at davesgoneby.com for free. davesgoneby.com. By the way, we also put our archives at archive.org, a not-for-profit website that is collecting all this stuff from the last couple of centuries. Archive.org. Just look for Dave's Gone By. And if you're an audio person, you go around, you go to the gym, go to places, you don't want to watch this for 3 or 3.5 hours, remember that our audio archives are at castbox.fm. Castbox.fm for specifically for podcasting. You're watching the Dave's Gone By show. I'm Dave. Very happy to do this for you. So we have some more stuff, man. We still have more show to do on this November 7th, 2020. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do. We also have our Wretched Pun of Destiny, as well as the Friends of the Daverhood. So yeah, let's get through those. And if I have any spittle left or any voice left, I may talk a little bit more about about this week, about the elections and the thoughts swirling in my head about nobody's watching this now. Everybody's like flipping channels and dials to all the news stations. But if you're going to hang with me a little more, or if you're watching this in the archives, yes, we do have more show to do, including this, which is our Wretched Pun of Destiny. Now, this is where, for as usual with me, there's really no particular reason for this, but I thought, hey, I do love plays on words. I do love language. Why not do up these tiny little short stories that end with a really egregious, miserable, wretched play on words? We call those, therefore, Wretched Puns of Destiny. And this one, how appropriate, has to do with an election. The Dave's Gone By, Wretched Pun of Destiny. On election day, a Midwestern politician casts his vote and then gets on the tour bus for the ride back to campaign headquarters. At one point, the bus drives past a huge open field with indistinct figures squatting all around it. "Pull over," says the politician's campaign manager. The bus driver does, and the campaign manager hurries off the bus and starts walking through the field, sizing up the strangers. "What's going on?" the politician whispers to the driver. "I know this place," comes the reply. "This is the Pulaski farm." Strange bunch. For 100 years now, the family's been raising chickens and selling the eggs in town. What's so weird about that? Once their chickens lay, the driver explains, they take the eggs and sit on them themselves. They think it improves the flavor. Wait, you mean those people are out there hatching eggs? Yes, says the bus driver. The family was doing it back in Poland for centuries, and when they emigrated here and became American citizens, they kept it up. Just then, the campaign manager steps back on the bus, a happy look on his face. "Great news," he says, "the election's in the bag." "Why so sure?" says the politician. "Because," comes the reply, "I've seen the exit polls." We here at Dave's Gone By apologize for bringing you the Wretched Pun of Destiny. Just shameful, unfortunate stuff. But we do the Wretched Pun of Destiny. Not every week here. We used to do it every week, and then we laid off for a few months, and then now we're doing them when we feel like them. And unfortunately, we felt like that one this week, the Wretched Pun of Destiny. And if you thought that was bad, wait till you hear our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up in just a few minutes. But before we get to that, as we did, we thanked David Sheward for being with us in the Daverhood this week, Leslie Hoban Blake, and of course, Hank Sapoznik, the musicologist, the archivist, the musician. What a delightful guest he was. And he is now, of course, a friend of the Daverhood. What that means is that people who have been on this program, whether recently or many years ago, they're our friends. So we like to keep tabs on them and let you know what they've been up to. So these are this week's Friends of the Daverhood. So, for example, let me get to my my cheat sheet for Friends of the Daverhood. I want to give a shout out to former comedian and now painter and artist Dave Koenig. His artworks are available and to view, and I guess to purchase virtually, at the rpacgallery.com. rpacgallery.com. I want to also remind you that these are your, oh, no, that, let's see, what is today? Today is November 7th. Nope, that ended, I'm sorry. But I want to let you know that on the 10th of November, Uda Lemper will be performing virtually at Club Cumming. That is Alan Cumming's website, clubcummingnyc.com. I mean, Alan Cumming has a club in New York, a nightclub for performers and stuff and parties. So they're going virtual with a concert by Uda Lemper that is happening on the 10th. And then on November 11th, this week, Leroy Reams, he is doing a virtual concert as a benefit for the York Theater Company. So it'll be live on the 11th, and then they will do the encore from the 12th through next Saturday, the 14th, Leroy Reams. A reminder that Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are doing duets of classic tunes, you know, of the Great American Songbook era, and of course, theater songs. Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, they have a YouTube page. Do check that out. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. Dr. Demento runs the drdemento.com website. Stuart Brown has the soundsofbroadway.com site, which is 24/7 of Broadway show tunes. Bob Cudmore, of course, doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And what else do I have to share with you? I want to remind you to read Mike Peters's column, The Gnarly Trombone, and 100 Years Ago in the Greeley Tribune, to read the theater critics, especially, well, there's Will Mannis out in Los Angeles, Mary Shen Barnage in Chicago, and Ann Siegel in Milwaukee. They have all written fairly recently for TotalTheater.com, and this is because they've been reviewing virtual shows. So if you're interested in theater and you haven't been able to see theater since March, you can just go on your screen and watch new shows being produced for Zoom, being produced just like this. And if you want to read reviews of some of them, go to TotalTheater.com and look for the virtual theater section of that. And let's see, any other things I want to remind you about? Well, I'm pretty sure that David Kenny is still doing his radio broadcast, Everything Old is New Again, Sunday nights on WBAI. And those, my friends, are the Friends of the Daverhood. So I did apologize before for making you sit through the Wretched Pun of Destiny, a terrible, truly terrible play on words, but we're not done with the terrors here on Dave's Gone By, because on this episode, this November 7th, 2020 episode of the show, yes, we do have a limerick to share with you, our Colorado limerick of the damned. We do one of these every week because Joyce and I lived in Colorado for almost a decade, and I started just writing little awful poems about every single town and city and municipality, and I'm still doing it in Colorado. And because they're limericks, A, they're short, B, they try to be amusing, and C, they also try to be really risque, and in my case, just shocking and horrible. So definitely get the kids out of the room for this one, kids, because it is time for this week's Colorado Limerick of the Damned for Goodrich, Colorado.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Rocky Mountain High for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We go this week to Goodrich, Colorado. I hope you won't get tired of Goodrich. It's an unincorporated community in northeastern Colorado, named after an early settler named J.T. Goodrich. And really the only thing about it is it's near Jackson Lee State Park. I kind of love when Wikipedia or these towns and websites that talk about places in Colorado, they say, well, it isn't, there's nothing there, but it's near this, it's near the hot springs. It's kind of adjacent to this. So Goodrich, Colorado is near Jackson Lee State Park. But now Goodrich has one more thing to recommend it, or disrecommend it, if you will, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. The thing about living in Goodrich is that it's a strange neighborhood which requires a fellow to holler and bellow and order his wife, take my wood, bitch. Yes, that is our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Please send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. Yes, we still have an old-fashioned AOL address, davesgoneby@aol.com. And of course, you can also message me. If you do, unlike Leslie Hoban Blake, if you do have Facebook and you want to friend me and message me, that would be fantastic. You can either post your message in the running thing of the show or on my site. And certainly you can send me a private message if you just want me to see that. But either way, I would love to hear from you. It's either the Dave's Gone By Facebook page, which of course you are on, unless you're watching this in the archives, or for a regular email, davesgoneby@aol.com. And don't forget that my Twitter feed is Radio Dave 2. Radio Dave, the number 2. And speaking of Twitter pages and Twitter feeds, let's not forget that Rabbi Sol Solomon, who was kind enough to do that wonderful interview with the delightful Henry Sapoznik. Rabbi Sol's got a website, it's shalomdammit.com, and he has a Twitter feed at Rabbi Sol Solomon, at Rabbi Sol Solomon. All ways for you to follow and engage with this program, Dave's Gone By. Well, I think we've done what we've set out to do today. Who knew that history would happen literally in the midst of doing this program? I didn't even get to talk too much about, just the election in general. I really wasn't figuring to hear news or a final announcement until like next week, because that all the court cases are happening. And let's face it, if you've got a general election and millions of people are counting votes or have voted, and those votes need to be counted, and it gets so close that one candidate has like 49.9% of the vote, and the other candidate has 49.6% of the vote, it really is reasonable. It is fair to call for a recount, not to disallow ballot counting, not to say that every vote legitimately cast in time should not be counted. Of course it should. But I do think it's fair, no matter who wins or loses or how it all tallied out, because look what happened with Pennsylvania. I'm just so like, oh my God, I can't believe Pennsylvania went red. This is how I felt on Tuesday after the election. And during that, I can't believe, like Pennsylvania. It's right next to New York. It's an hour away. It went red. And Ohio, which I always think about kind of a northeast thing. Both of them with significant blue collar populations, which is what happened. And the one thing I wanted to mention is, and the reason that I was gut wrenched about both of those places turning even more than Florida was this idea that a few years back, Hillary killed it. As much as I voted for Hillary, as much as I half-heartedly supported her, Hillary went in and just had this attitude, the whole deplorable thing. And that just this election would not have been this close. I know David and Henry and Leslie were saying that the election, if it weren't for COVID, right, Trump would have won, right? It would have been an issue. But the last election might not have gone to Trump if it weren't for Hillary kind of mocking and belittling, or seemingly so, the blue collar and the people who work in the mines and the people who work in the oil and gas industry. Because it's one thing to say, yes, in a better world, we will be making a much cleaner, more efficient energy out of air, right? Out of poop, out of wind, out of sunshine. Fantastic, let's do it. And let's go all these wonderful folks who work so hard in the coal mines and who work some in turbines and pumping oil and fracking. Let's ease slowly away from that so these people don't lose their jobs, so these people can feed their families, but make sure that maybe the next generation have jobs working in solar paneling and in creating different kinds of, if she had put it like that, I think she would not have lost tens of thousands of people who felt deplored and who felt like, well, go close the coal mines and screw them. And these people, it's kind of like making them feel like, in a way, it's not quite the same. But when Vietnam vets came back from fighting the war, and people don't remember this, but in the 60s and 70s, they were considered the enemy. They were the ones who were shooting babies, as Sylvester Stallone said in the First Blood. It was like they were the bad guy. They represented a war we lost, and they represented America doing bad, sometimes evil things over in a country where we didn't belong. And they, according to the hippies, according to the left, they should have been pacifists. They should have burned their draft cards. They should have moved to Canada instead of going, instead of listening to Uncle Sam, instead of getting their hair cut short and becoming killing machines over there, not accepting the fact, not realizing that they've been commanded by the US government to go there and do this. And what is the alternative, right? And maybe they believe, some of them, in communism perhaps being evil and spreading to that part of the world, and that there was some level of rightness in being over there. Or just they listened to their parents and they listened to their brother who was going, or they had to go, right? And they went and they did their duty, and they got shot at, and they got wounded and PTSD and maimed and all of it, and then they come back, unlike World War II veterans who were absolutely, kissed in the streets and given, fantastic benefits and things. No, this is, the vets are back. They're all crazy. They're all going up in bell towers with guns. And then that was the thanks America gave them for what they did. Well, imagine, in a much lesser level, the coal miners and the people working in the traditional energy industry, right? Scraping together enough money to put food on the table, factory workers, and doing this, and then looked down upon by whom they see as the elites and the Hollywood people, and the people that Hillary and Bill hobnob with. That, we speak to the college educated, we speak to the smart kids, the young, the yuppies, the progressives, the people who have jobs in the white collar sector or building websites, and the people who are working in turbines and wind and sun energy, God bless them. But they're not talking to us. And not only that, they're looking down on us. They're ignoring us. They're calling us deplorable. You lose them. You lose thousands of people. And those people have not come back. And there are people in Pennsylvania, and there are people in Ohio, and people in Florida too. And certainly throughout the whole Midwest, the former car manufacturers who were hoping for a revival of that industry, right? Even if the cars burn a lot of gasoline, which they shouldn't in this day and age, but still do. So that's what worried me to hell. And that's what the Democratic Party will still be facing. And one of the reasons that they didn't turn the Senate, or they won't turn the Senate, it's not decided yet, is that Democrats aren't beloved after 4 years of Republican rule. As much as as you've seen, so many people on the left side of things despise Donald Trump. There's 70 million who don't, right? And who don't necessarily trust Biden or think Biden might be just on the beginning stages of dementia, and in 2 years it'll be Kamala Harris, and who knows what she will be, right? So it's something for the Democratic Party, of which I am a member, and how I did vote a couple of days ago, to really keep in mind, right? That, yeah, okay, congratulations, we won today, barring, remember, if these court cases go all the way to the Supreme Court, Trump has stacked the deck 6-3. So if these recounts have, or the voting count stops, or they don't count these ballots, it's like Trump can go to Alito and other people like that and go, hey, I nominate you, Mr. Kavanaugh. You're there at my behest, Ms. Coney. Can you throw me a little light here? Remains to be seen. But as much as the Democrats are celebrating today, they've got work to do that was not done the past couple of years. Biden should have made more inroads, and maybe he would have, had there not been a pandemic and been sort of sidelines in a basement for 6 months, right? Rightfully so. But he would have been out there, I think, healing some of the damage that Hillary did 4 years back. And he hasn't. The Democrats must do that. They're not going to bring the country together. The people who hate Hillary will hate Biden, will hate Harris, and see them as being allied with AOC and Bernie Sanders and the far communist socialist wing. Biden's no communist, trust me, right? But we've got this whole idea of reaching across the aisle, forget it. The Democrats will not accept Republicans will not accept the Democrats. It's going to be a hate fest, especially with neither party controlling both houses. And it will be 4 more amazing years of gridlock, or at least 2 more years of gridlock, maybe worse years of gridlock ahead. But at least, we can say something decent, something good happened today. I don't know why. This is the one other thing I don't understand. Why did it take 4 days to count all the votes? This is what I don't understand. It's not a Trump thing, it's not a Biden thing. It's literally like, okay, back in the 1960s, 1970s, there were millions of people already in America, millions of American citizens voting. And somehow, with the use of some computers, but basically with handwritten ballots and people reading them and collecting them and numbering them and counting them, they figured out who was president by 10 o'clock at night. I mean, yes, there was Dewey defeats Truman a few years back. It was a close one. And so you had that. And even then, by the next morning, they knew that the newspaper jumped the gun too soon. And then when they really finished counting in the early hours of the morning, it was Truman defeats Dewey. Why were they able to do that in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, of counting all the votes, figuring them out, and then we have a president within, if not going to sleep with the nightly news, certainly by the following morning, And now, you say, well, of course, it's because of all the mail-in ballots and the absentee ballots. When I go, it's like, wouldn't that make things easier? If you have all these ballots coming in, can't you have people the week before the election secretly, not doing the counting in secret, but keeping the results a secret from the public and counting them, right? So if somebody mailed in, they're in a state where you can mail in your ballot back in middle of October, it gets to the post office. The post office drops it off at the election bureau. The election bureau, count them in. And then all you've got to do on election night with these hundreds of thousands of ballots is give the tallies. How many went to Biden? How many went to Trump? How many went to Kanye? or Princess Jasmine, or whatever the hell her name was, right? They're already pre-counted. You did them. Just add those numbers in. Should make things easier and quicker rather than 4 days of what do they do? And these are sort of iffy and not so iffy. And the states that are done. And then, a couple of battleground states, why does it take more than a couple of extra hours if the ballots have already come in before? They're sitting there for weeks on a table in a bin. They've been opened, I assume. I don't know. I just don't understand how some things get exponentially harder in an era when we have computers that can count things. We have more and more people able to do things. We have systems in place for doing things. We've tried to ease the voting process so that you're not standing at in front of a booth and with a clicker that might not move or breaks off, or this thing doesn't go, or you filled out a thing halfway and is it not? I don't know. This just, how is it? Every 4 years we have some kind of issue with ballots, whether it was hanging chads all those horrible years ago, or now just, well, we've got record vote count. It's going to take us a record amount of time to figure out the close matches. I don't know. And of course the polling, man, the polls, how is it that we still even listen to them, that we even trust them that early in the campaign? Of all the different candidates, of all the people who back in 2018 were announcing their candidacy for the 2020 presidency. And so they start their campaigns. All these folks, right? The Kamala Harris's, the Trump, the Biden, the Hickenlooper, I'm forgetting some, the Castro, the other Republican, all those other Republican guys, and then the Democrat, when they started doing it, how do they figure out who's going to be leading? How do they know who's going to drop out? Who's going to get the money to continue? Well, they take polls, right? Presumably the same pollsters and the same organizations that take the polls a year and a half later and then are getting it very often very wrong, which they did 4 years ago for sure. Not quite as wrong this year, but wrong again. It was supposed to be a landslide for Democrats turning seats in the Senate. That did not happen. The polls said it would. Well, these were the same polls that said Donald Trump was this and this, and all these other Republican candidates, not so much. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the Cuban Florida one that forgive me, I just can't remember his name. And the name of those 15 other people who were running just like a year and a half ago. But we're having these number-driven, poll-driven things. And if they're using the same tactics for these polls to tell us who back in August of 2019 or 2018 are the front runners towards the primaries, how trustworthy are those? I don't know. I don't know. All I know is, at least for the moment, stock market was going to go, but at least things like abortion and some things about human rights and about gay rights and reproductive rights and immigration and the treatment of immigrants, legal immigrants, and the treatment of illegal immigrants too. We may be able to breathe something, a sigh of relief for a couple of years. Let us hope. Let's hope we don't have, who knows, in 3.5 years, we might have 2 United Stateses, rather than just figuratively, maybe literally. Maybe there will be that vote of all these Midwestern things seceding from the Union and having the left coast and the right coast connected around this with like a peach pit in the middle. So it's blue on the edges, red in the middle, and that will be America, unless we add Puerto Rico, and then we figure out what the hell to do with them. Anyway, I'm figuring out what to do with this show, which is end it on this November 7th, 2020. You've been watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Write to me, davesgoneby@aol.com. Watch the archives at davesgoneby.com. And by the way, the last 3 or 4 years are video All of the stuff before that is audio, but it's all there, davesgoneby.com. Also, you can scroll through our Facebook page to catch the last 3 years of our Facebook shows, what we do every Saturday morning from 9 until noon or thereabouts Eastern time. So yes, we are hoping that next week, November 14th, we will be back in the Daverhood with the 772nd edition of Dave's Gone By. It just remains for me one more time to thank Hank or Chaim Sapoznik. Please go to henrysapoznik.com for all the information about his radio work, his producing work, his musicianship, the albums he did with Capella, the other music stuff that he's put out and produced and played on. And boy, please, if you can find the NPR series that he did about Yiddish radio, and I'm certainly, if you can find that one about the commercials, just wonderful stuff. So henrysapoznik.com. And there's no C in there. It's SAPOZNIK, henrysapoznik.com. And I suppose that's the end of this episode. We thank again David Sheward and Leslie Hoban Blake for joining us, and Rabbi Sol Solomon of ShalomDammit.com. Yes, it's been a week, it's been a morning, it's been a show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, next Saturday, November 14th, 2020, for the 772 edition of Dave's Gone By. Till then, enjoy the return of really nice weather. Didn't you think that fall had gone and we were sliding really quickly into winter? And then now it's like, yes. So enjoy that, ladies and gentlemen. If you're Republican, deal. If you're a Democrat, celebrate. If you're an American, brush your hand across your forehead and go, whew, and gone by.
Days gone by.